A girl with a 0 on her forehead is crying for someone to help her, desperately screaming for anyone in the class to be her friend, while a digital clock on the wall ticks down with only seconds left. She is on her knees begging, promising she will do absolutely anything, just as a pair of polished shoes steps into the room. Her expression immediately shifts from desperation to pure terror, and the classroom door slides open with a grim finality. In walks a monster in a lab coat announcing her friend count is 0, thanks Captain Obvious. He gets right up close declaring it is time for her penalty, leaving the other students to just stand there and watch the horror show. This guy gives a whole lecture about failing to manage her social circle, then reaches out saying anyone who fails does not deserve a future, and with that her head is just gone in a splash of pink. Our blue-haired boy with glasses is in shock, realizing this classroom has changed, seeing the gruesome result of the penalty from his desk. This whole death game apparently started just yesterday, but then we see her again alive and well in a normal classroom. Our MC Hayato Makabe is just trying to mind his own business, while two girls gossip right in front of his desk, completely invading his personal space like it is their job. Hayato gets up from his desk looking totally over it, and heads to the water fountain for a drink, because apparently that is his entire lunch plan. Just then the school's resident mean girls show up, and one of them shoves him face first into the faucet, before the leader Mai calls him a loser for being in the way. He tries to argue back, pointing out she's the one who bumped him, but her crew just piles on, mocking him for being poor. Our boy can only take the verbal beatdown, as the trio struts away, calling him a bottom feeder. He just stares at his own reflection, feeling completely defeated, and the frustration is clearly boiling over. For a moment he is just frozen there, before finally dragging himself back into the classroom. Inside, everyone is just glued to their phones like nothing happened, and Hayato's brain is short-circuiting at the sheer absurdity of it all. A memory hits of other students mocking him for being broke, putting him right back at his desk like he never even left. That is when his desk gets kicked with a loud thud, snapping him out of his daze with a jolt, and who should walk in but the monster from the dream, introducing himself as Makuzuka from the government. This class is just like a government teacher, because that is a totally normal thing. He opens his sketchy pink-splattered briefcase, saying he will be teaching them all right. Then he pulls out some contact lenses, announcing it is a mandatory government order to wear them. One girl tries to get out of it, but nope, everyone gets a pair of mystery contacts. Hayato checks his out, learning they will auto-adjust to his vision, fancy tech for a shady situation. He is still wondering what this is all about as he pops one in, and soon enough the entire class is wearing them, just waiting for the other shoe to drop. Makuzuka goes full-on psycho, slamming the desk and screaming, "Let the experiment begin." A student, bless her heart, actually asks what kind of experiment this is. Suddenly, Hayato's vision glitches and his eye looks like it is running new software. He can now see numbers floating over everyone's heads like a video game HUD. Our friendly neighborhood mad scientist writes friend counter on the board, explaining the numbers are their friend counts. Welcome everyone to the government-sponsored friendship culling project. Sounds super fun. This scope is limited to just this class, so no cheating the system. That means no making friends outside this room to boost your score. A clock appears on the wall, starting a 24-hour countdown, and we all know where this is going. This students start panicking as their social scores light up for everyone to see. One smug dude immediately spells it out. Lowest number dies, so good luck being a loner. Makuzuka confirms the deadline is tomorrow, looking absolutely thrilled about the impending doom. One student is already losing it, demanding to know what kind of experiment this is, while the white-haired girl shouts that this whole dying thing has to be a joke, and another kid decides he has had enough, trying to rip the contact lens right out of his eye. He keeps digging at it, absolutely determined to prove this is all just a prank. Right before his eyeball starts glowing a very unhealthy shade of pink, and then it just pops in a very graphic, very not a joke kind of way. This kid slumps over his desk, becoming the first official casualty of poor decision-making. Makuzuka's voice echoes through the room, asking if they finally understand the stakes. From above, we see the grim scene as he lays down the law, do not remove the contacts. Turns out they dissolve into a deadly poison that melts your brain, a fun little government-issued feature. Hayato is sweating bullets, staring at that big glowing 0 floating right over his head. Makuzuka just picks up his briefcase, completely unfazed by the recent staff reduction. He gives the white-haired girl a creepy pat, telling her to learn her lesson about social skills, before telling the whole class to use their little brains, which is just peak villain condescension. This room goes dark and the reality of their glowing social scores starts to sink in for everyone. Panic sets in for Hayato, who realizes he has 24 hours to make a friend or die. His brilliant plan is to just run away, so he makes a break for it, sprinting down the empty school hallway, running like his life depends on it because it literally does. But of course, Makuzuka is already waiting for him at the top of the stairs, escape plan cancelled. Hayato spots another student trying to escape, also rocking a big fat 0. But his number's a different color, meaning he is not even from their class. Our boy asks the new kid if he is trying to bail too, who just gives a deadpan yeah in response, a man of few words. Suddenly hearing footsteps, Hayato panics, telling him to jump first, and the kid immediately makes his exit without a second thought. Hayato scrambles out onto the ledge right after him, watching the other student take the plunge. He lands safely on the grass, looking totally fine for about half a second. Then his eyes start gushing that familiar, deadly pink uh-oh. From the window, Hayato can only watch in horror. Right before a hand grabs his shoulder from behind, it is the white-haired girl looking completely unhinged and cornering him, accusing him of using the other kid as a guinea pig to test the rules. He can only stammer out a denial, looking totally busted. As her voiceover explains, this is not some gentle lesson about friendship. It is about building trust just to betray it, a lesson from the ants. These insects are shown feasting on the pink remains, a grim little nature documentary, illustrating her point about using others as stepping stones for survival, and the ants just keep marching on, a perfect metaphor for their new food chain. This white-haired girl gets right in his face, mocking his zero score, warning him that being the only loser makes him a very convenient target, and Hayato is understandably starting to freak out a little bit. Night falls over the school, sealing them all inside. In the classroom, everyone else is just casually eating and chatting, while our boy sits alone, too stressed to even touch his food. He is just desperately wishing someone would talk to him. But then the grim reality sets in: if he gets a friend, someone else dies. Her words echo in his mind: they will all sacrifice him to survive, leaving him to wonder why having no friends is a literal death sentence. An announcement suddenly crackles over the speaker: phone restrictions are lifted. But there is a catch: discuss the experiment and face a penalty. Everyone immediately starts calling home, putting on their best I am fine voice, and Hayato's phone buzzes with a new notification. It is a text from someone named Kasaki offering him meatless curry peak cuisine. He starts to type a reply, but it is just a demand for money for his mom, which is apparently a very frustrating, very common occurrence for him. Later, he is trudging up the stairs to his apartment, looking completely drained, carrying the weight of the world in a school bag on his shoulders, and from inside his home he hears a woman's voice making a very asterisk weird request: to fill my body with fortune, which is one heck of a greeting to come home to. And Hayato just freezes at the door, bracing for the worst, finding his mom with some sketchy bald dude performing a blessing, which apparently involves throwing magic paper at her while she gets hyped about it. This guy turns to Hayato with a smile that screams, "I am a cult leader," and immediately tries to give our boy a hands-on blessing of his own, while his mom is just on her phone, completely checked out of reality. "Welcome home, Hayato. Please ignore the small child sitting in the corner. That is his little sister, Kasaki, and she looks terrified." This bald dude immediately looms over her, his creep factor going through the roof, telling her to come to his dojo to get some fortune stored in her body too. Mom's just putting on lipstick, totally cool with her daughter joining a cult. This leader then turns his attention to Hayato, making some small talk, before dropping the bomb that it is time for him to start contributing. And by contributing, he means making offerings, aka handing over his cash. His own mother holds up a bill, calling it Hayato's portion, as the guy gets right in his face, telling him to start earning for them. He even points out that little Kasaki is already doing her part just like mom. That is the final straw. Hayato grabs his sister, ordering her to stay away from that dojo, because he knows damn well what these people will do to her. His mom's mouth is wide open, screaming pure rage at him, and she physically shoves him against the door, looking absolutely feral, yelling about how he does not understand what happens if you do not store fortune, which is apparently a one-way ticket to misery in this life and the next. Hayato's inner monologue just lists his problems: cult parents, broke, and now a death game. He feels like he is just falling into an endless dark pit. Back in the present, he sees a concerned text from his sister Kasaki, and a tear splashes right onto the phone screen, because all he can think about is what happens to her if he dies. He quickly types back a reassuring lie about being stuck in class, making a silent promise that he will survive this for her. Deciding to pull himself together, he gets up to wash his face, and walks out into the quiet school hallway, where he almost collides with another student standing there, a girl named Ami Shirano, whose friend count is a solid 3. It is an awkward moment as they just stand there by the bathroom door, so Hayato just tries to shuffle past her without a word. But he pauses, his mind racing for a split second, when she suddenly turns and asks if he wants to be friends. Our boy is just frozen in shock, completely blindsided by the offer. Hayato is just stunned, questioning if she really wants to be friends. But before he gets an answer, 2 other girls grab her, saying they have been searching, and they are all smiles, clinging to Ami while she looks totally flustered. With a quick "we need to talk," they just drag her away from him, leaving our boy standing alone outside the bathroom, completely baffled. He is just left there wondering what the hell just happened. Peeking back into the classroom, he spots them again. Ami is now surrounded by her friends, all of them with high social scores. He tries to follow up on their chat, but one of the girls immediately calls him a loser, while another gets super defensive, demanding to know why he is bothering her friend. Hayato just desperately explains that he needs to make friends too, so the blonde girl puts him on blast, asking if anyone actually wants to befriend him. While holding up a charm his mom sold her dad for a ridiculous amount of money. He is floored, realizing his mom's cult is even crazier than he thought. Then she goes for the throat, asking if his mom sleeps with people for donations, laying out how his mother's scam led to her parents' divorce. All Hayato can do is apologize, insisting he had nothing to do with it. But she is not done, revealing the expensive charm just contains a dirty old fingernail. She screams at him for even thinking about happiness after his family ruined hers. So Hayato flips it, coldly asking if dying for them would store up fortune for him. Back at the school, the clock is ticking on the outside wall, and a digital timer inside shows less than an hour to go. which has Hayato in a full-blown panic, picturing his own gruesome end. Meanwhile, a blonde girl with a high score decides she is bored, asking to borrow a book from a classmate who is clearly not finished with it, and then immediately threatens to end their friendship when she hesitates. It works like a charm as she snatches the book while lecturing about cherishing friends, the absolute nerve. Nearby, two other students gossip about how awful she is while Hayato just observes the drama. Our boy's inner monologue just screaming about how they are worried about manga while he is facing death. He is completely out of ideas on how to survive this thing, until a sudden spark of what might be genius or just pure desperation hits him. His big plan: bribe the book-stealing girl Mai with one of his own manga. Heading to his desk to retrieve the goods, he feels a sliver of hope, only to find his desk is completely empty. He starts tearing his desk apart, frantically searching for his manga, positive it was there yesterday, which can only mean one thing: someone stole it. And he is just furious, wondering what kind of monster steals during a death game. Then it all clicks, he flashes back to Mai's little shakedown from earlier. Looking over at her group, he knows exactly who the thief is. And to add insult to injury, she is not even reading the book she just took, she just wanted it. With less than 15 minutes on the clock, Hayato knows he needs a new plan fast. Meanwhile, a girl mentions that Mai borrowed her dictionary and just never returned it. And suddenly a light bulb goes off in Hayato's head, a possible lead. He immediately pulls out his phone, scrolling with a new sense of purpose, his face a mask of pure, frantic concentration. Our boy is officially on the case, legs twitching with nervous energy. Walking right up to the girls, he asks about a specific gray dictionary with a name on it, and they are completely floored, wondering how he knew the details. Hayato just holds up his phone, showing them the dictionary sold on a flea market app. Its owner is absolutely furious, realizing her name was just scribbled out with a marker. She storms right over to Mai, accusing her of selling the stolen goods, but Mai just kicks back, playing dumb with peak, unbothered queen energy. Her friend shoves the phone in her face, demanding to know if the seller account is hers, while the other girl panics, knowing it is social suicide to cross Mai. A second later, she is staring at her own phone in total shock. Because a DVD set she lent Mai is also up for sale online. This one is personal, it had her favorite artist's signature on it, but Mai, a master of denial, just asks for proof the account is even hers. That is when Hayato steps in, demanding she show them her phone right now. He then reveals his trump card: his own stolen, ultra-rare manga is listed on that same account. This dictionary girl puts it together, that notification was a purchase confirmation. And Mai is just staring at her phone, her face a perfect mask of "I am so busted." So Hayato strolls up, announcing he just bought his own manga back and wants to see her screen. But she immediately starts screaming about false accusations, playing the victim card. Hayato's way ahead of her, pointing out the delayed shipping as he just yoinks the book from her bag. And since it is right here, he will be taking it now, thank you very much. He then hands the manga to the dictionary girl, sealing his first friendship of the game. She immediately turns on Mai, declaring she is not about to be friends with a thief, which leaves Mai completely stunned, unable to process the sudden betrayal. From above, the social math is clear. Hayato is now a better bet than the toxic queen bee. Another girl piles on, reminding everyone Mai wanted to sacrifice Hayato in the first place. And the whole group agrees nobody wants someone that scary in their class. In a flash, Mai's friend count drops all the way down to 1, until her last friend gives a cheerful wave and cuts ties too, leaving her with a big fat 0, absolutely losing her mind on the floor. With less than 5 minutes on the clock, the tension is through the roof. Mai is just seething, screaming about how everyone betrayed her. While her ex-friends are already walking off, complaining she always made them pay for drinks. One even admits she always wished they were in different classes. Loyalty is dead, folks. As Mai collapses in defeat, the final judgment is delivered. This is all on you. Ami, the girl from the bathroom, watches the drama with a smug grin, feeling totally refreshed. And then she turns to Hayato, asking if he wants to be friends. Our boy is just frozen, completely unable to process this turn of events. Before he can answer, another girl with glasses asks to be his friend too. And with his friend count now at 2, Hayato is just flooded with relief. He is safe. Across the room, Mai is giving them a look that could kill. As the clock ticks down to 3 minutes and the room turns blood red, she is just screaming, tears streaming down her face in pure terror, now begging her old friends, even offering to pay for all the drinks she made them buy. They just look down on her, coldly saying they want nothing to do with her anymore. This entire group just stands over her, a complete social execution in progress, while Mai desperately pleads for anyone to save her. She starts screaming at the whole class, begging them to be her friend, but everyone just sits there watching as the final 17 seconds tick away. Yikes. Still at 0 friends, she is on her knees, promising she will do absolutely anything. And then the classroom door slams shut right as the timer hits 0. A creepy game master appears, mocking her for failing to control her own friendships, and a lock materializes over Mai's head as she just whispers the word friend. In a flash of purple light, she is just gone, her final scream echoing through the room. Hayato looks on, completely shaken, his only thought being that he can see his sister again. Our creepy game master gloats about how easily people are doomed by a little greed. And just like that, Mai's body is unceremoniously hosed down by a cleanup crew. Her face a mess of purple energy, a grim reminder that nobody stepped in to save her. Back in the classroom, everyone just stares at the empty spot where she was, a lesson in consequences. This remaining students are absolutely terrified, clinging to each other for dear life. Then the game master drops the next bombshell. Only the largest group of friends gets to live. A guy with blue hair and glasses just voices what everyone's thinking. We are still doing this. Suddenly, the numbers above everyone's head start changing again. This blue-haired guy points out the obvious: everyone's friend count just got wiped back to zero. A new 24-hour timer starts with the deadline set for 5th period tomorrow, and this new strategist is already processing the rule: form the biggest group or die, but he seems to have a plan, whispering that they can all survive this. He then gets everyone's attention, announcing a way for the entire class to be saved. This game master, however, looks deeply unimpressed with this little display of hope. So Hayato's new friend with the glasses asks him to explain because this sounds too good to be true. His master plan is simple: if everyone befriends everyone else, they will form one giant group. For a second, it looks like it might work. Everyone's on board with the no one dies plan. But of course, there is always one guy, meet Brandon, who clearly is not a team player. He immediately shoots down the idea, saying he is not about to befriend a bunch of trash, because apparently even in a death game he has got standards. He chooses his friends carefully. Our creepy game master is absolutely loving this, deciding to just watch the chaos unfold. Down below, Brandon the contrarian is just lounging as a few guys walk up to his desk. And in a flash, he has already formed a clique of 5. That was fast. He takes a long, dramatic swig from his bottle, really milking the moment, then flashes a smug grin, greeting his new followers. Turns out he has actually assembled a crew of 12 people while everyone was talking. This blue-haired strategist immediately realizes this is very, very bad. His mind racing with the math, Brandon's group is now the majority, dooming everyone else. He still tries to appeal to reason, begging Brandon to stick with the save everyone plan, but Brandon just mocks him, calling him a pathetic goldfish out of water. What a guy. This grim reality sinks in for the others. It is either join Brandon or die. A new green-haired kid named Sora then starts judging the strategist's appearance, clearly more impressed by Brandon's ridiculously flashy gold watch and his equally shiny earring. Plus the gold chain, because priorities are important in a death game. Sora whispers that Brandon's just a poser who wants attention, telling the others to watch this. Then immediately starts sucking up, complimenting the watch and offering to be his errand boy. Brandon, soaking up the praise, welcomes his new lackey to the team. With that, Sora's friend count officially ticks up to 13. He is safe. Brandon's cronies then start the recruitment drive, making it simple: join the winning team or die. This remaining girls look on, realizing they are on the wrong side of the numbers, and a couple of them immediately start begging to join Brandon's group. So much for solidarity. Sora explains his master plan to the strategist: just suck up to the guy in charge, easy. He then tries to drag the strategist over, insisting they join Brandon's group to survive. But hold on, Sora says there is a little something they have to do first. And there it is, Brandon announces the 100,000 yen entry fee because friendship ain't free. Both Sora and the strategist are absolutely floored by this new development, while Brandon just smirks, declaring he chooses his friends and apparently he chooses them rich. Sora is completely losing it, screaming about the price tag, as another girl panics, admitting she is totally broke. This strategist just stares in disbelief, his save everyone plan officially dead in the water. Our game master pops back in, gloating that this hell is a perfect hunting ground for predators. Still, the strategist makes one last desperate plea for unity, bless his naive soul. This game master finds this adorable, calling his thinking beautiful and correct, before adding that such correctness is basically a museum piece here, completely useless. With a creepy wave, he bids them adieu, promising to see them tomorrow. Brandon, ever the entrepreneur, helpfully announces he also takes electronic payments. Then he jacks the price up to 1 million yen because why not? This remaining students just stand there, a sad little island of broke outcasts. In a last-ditch effort, Sora asks the strategist for a loan, who flatly tells him it is impossible. This strategist just shuts Sora down, admitting he is completely broke too. Brandon flashes a predatory grin, inviting them to join his exclusive, very expensive club, while his cronies suggest they just call their parents for a quick loan. So helpful. Sora's face falls, explaining his family is poor and he has no one to ask. So Brandon starts screaming threats about raising the price if they do not hurry up. 2 girls are already on the phone, begging for money for educational materials, a likely story. Another one is just panicking, realizing she is about to die over 100,000 yen. Trying to keep it together, the strategist tells the remaining outcasts to think calmly, first by acknowledging the grim reality that Brandon's group is the largest, then proposing a counterplan: unite and poach 2 of his members to win. Brandon's smug look says he is not even a little bit worried about that, and immediately the idea is shot down as totally impossible. Hayato's new friend with glasses then shows the strategist her phone, pulling up Brandon's social media profile, which is just him flexing stacks of cash. This strategist is completely baffled by how a teenager has this kind of money, and she explains the rumor he is involved in a pyramid scheme. It is just hearsay, of course, as we get a nice shot of his ridiculously expensive watch. Apparently, he buys loyalty by handing out money and gifts in exchange for cooperation. There is even a picture of him at a club, surrounded by followers, living his best life. One of the girls, Shiori, is horrified, insisting that this just cannot be right. Shiori's still trying to reason with them like they'd actually choose lives over shiny watches. But one of Brandon's goons just casually lights a smoke, completely unimpressed. as another girl tries to rally the outcasts, yelling not to be fooled by petty cash. So the smoker dude immediately gets in her face, asking to borrow her arm. He grabs her wrist, holding that lit cigarette way too close for comfort, and with a psycho grin he asks her what she meant by petty cash. Then he just presses the cigarette right into her arm, making her scream. He drops her, lecturing her not to underestimate the power of money, kid. After her precious speech, he asks if anyone would willingly take a burn for free. Before stomping on a desk, yelling not to underestimate their friendship, Brandon chimes in from his throne, telling them to pay up if life is so precious. This remaining students are just completely broken by this display of loyalty, and just like that, more girls cave, deciding their lives are worth the price tag. Our strategist can only watch, absolutely seething with rage. Haunted by Mai's gruesome fate, another guy gives in, desperate not to die like her. Now it is just the strategist and two girls left on the losing side, and the girls exchange a look of pure panic as the reality sinks in. That same goon puts a hand on one of the girls' shoulders, all smiles, while her friend watches in horror, reminding her they have been friends for years. But she just says she does not want to die. If 1,000,000 yen saves her, she will pay. Our strategist just watches, his save everyone plan officially a dumpster fire. Just then, another kid hits the floor, full-on doja bowing to Brandon. This new guy, Wataru, pleads that his parents are sick and he cannot possibly pay, and Brandon, feeling magnanimous, says he is not a demon and will offer a chance. But it cannot be free, you see, that would be unfair to the million yen members. Wataru is so desperate he just promises to do absolutely anything. So Brandon decides to give him an entrance exam, which sounds delightful. This poor kid just looks up, completely baffled by this new development. Brandon's test is simple: prove he can provide 100,000 yen worth of work. Apparently our big shot villain has a little problem with people jumping him at the school gate. He grabs Wataru by the collar, getting right up in his business, and his brilliant solution is for this kid to be his new meat shield. Brandon then calls over his goon, Ken, to deal with him, who cracks his knuckles, all too happy to get to work. Ken, a real sweetheart, tells Wataru to just let him punch him in the face or whatever. Wataru is just standing there, completely frozen by how fast this is escalating. His examiner winds up ready to administer the test and just smashes his fist right into Wataru's face. This kid is already bleeding from the nose after that one shot, but Ken just yells at him for spacing out. The exam's not over, buddy. Wataru hits the floor hard after that first punch, his face already a mess of tears and blood. Brandon's crew just mocks him, calling him a total failure, but Ken, the examiner, just tells him to keep going, while Brandon critiques his form, noting he has zero fighting sense. Then Brandon tells the kid to pay close attention to this next part. Ken gets right in his face, reminding him how Mai died, flashing that gruesome image and asking if he wants to be next. That threat finally makes something snap in Wataru, who just charges straight at Brandon, the guy running this whole sick show. Brandon, completely unfazed, stops him with one hand and just tosses him to the ground like a sack of potatoes. He then complains that Wataru's pathetic attack actually hurt him, what a baby, before decking him right across the face. This poor kid goes flying, smashing right through the classroom window, and Brandon grabs him, furious he's being made to look bad. Our strategist screams for them to get away from the window, but Brandon just holds Wataru by the collar right at the edge. Wataru is just frozen in pure, unadulterated terror, because Brandon is now dangling him out the broken window. So this is the final exam. And just like that, Wataru goes flying, his life counter hitting 0, followed by a brutal flash of pink, the official penalty for leaving the game. Brandon just peers out the broken window, looking mildly inconvenienced at best, until he sees his own number, which has suddenly jumped up to 18. Our strategist grits his teeth, putting the pieces together, realizing going outside is an escape attempt that triggers a fatal penalty. Ken slaps Brandon on the back, calling Wataru a scarecrow. Great job, boss. Still, Brandon's fixated on his score, understanding the match was already decided. This whole point, Ken explains, was to make the paying members feel validated, customer service, you know. But Brandon suddenly collapses, admitting he almost died himself. And his goon Ken just stands over him, totally unimpressed with the theatrics. Then another crony just walks up and slaps Ken right across the face, who just glares, telling the kid to hurry up and light his cigarette. This kid immediately caves, scrambling for his lighter. Yes, sir. Our strategist watches this whole power play unfold, his eyes locked on Ken. He lays it out for his friends. Wataru was never getting in, this was all a show. This strategist clenches his fist, furious they are cornered by a lack of cash. He realizes this will not stop. Brandon will just keep taking more money. His new plan is simple: they have to end Brandon's reign of terror. To which his friend asks the obvious question, how exactly? His friend lays it out: Brandon has money and power, making their plan impossible. And our strategist is just desperately trying to think of anything to do, when his phone lights up with a text from his mom, who is offering to sell his late father's manga and encyclopedias to help, which is the absolute last thing he wants to hear right now. He immediately texts her not to, explaining they are precious mementos, flashing back to a sweet memory of reading those books with his dad. But her reply is wild. Apparently dad's reincarnation is subscription-based and needs more donations. He just sees the face of that sleazy cult leader taking all their money, then looks back at Brandon, realizing everyone is being fooled by appearances. It finally clicks. The cult leader and Brandon are the exact same kind of monster, and the image of his father's book sparks a dangerous idea. He has to become a monster just like them to survive this. With a terrifying new resolve, he takes a single decisive step. Walking right past his confused friends toward the classroom door, he suddenly breaks into a sprint down the hall on a mission. Heading straight for the school library. Inside, he frantically scans the shelves for what he needs, finally pulling out an old encyclopedia just like the one his dad had. He holds it with a chilling grin, convinced this book will save them all. The sun sets over the school and time is clearly running out. While back in the classroom, the remaining students are just waiting in silence, and the green-haired kid is getting antsy, wondering where Hayato went. When a sudden sound makes both him and the blonde girl jump, it is Brandon, bored out of his mind, deciding it is time for another game, as his whole crew of paid-up friends looks way too eager for whatever this is, and the blonde girl frantically warns her friend not to make eye contact, but Brandon just grins, saying he loves a good fighting spirit, taunting them about whether cowering in a corner is a real survival strategy. Then he starts walking right toward their desk, getting right up in their faces with that same smug look, and he claims Wataru's death was an accident. He was totally gonna let him in after a few punches, because he is human too and hates seeing people die, you guys. So his brilliant, humane solution is a friendly game of tug-of-war, which leaves the green-haired kid completely baffled by the suggestion. But the blonde girl steps up, telling him to leave it to her since it is just a game. Night falls over the school, making everything feel 10 times more grim, and a long rope is laid out with the 3 remaining outcasts on one side, while on the other end, Brandon sits like a king with his entire crew ready to pull. So the green-haired kid points out the obvious: the teams are a little uneven. Brandon's goon points out the other team is just one person, and it is a lone girl named Shiori looking totally terrified. This green-haired kid thinks this'll be an easy win for them. But Brandon just grins, announcing all the players are finally here. Then he asks if the other asterisk side is ready, which is not a good sign, because just then Hayato walks in carrying 2 heavy buckets. He just sets them down on the floor, no explanation given, and his friend is like, what are those for? Brandon, with a truly evil smile, calls them special glass slippers, which makes the blonde girl's blood run cold, because inside the buckets are just jagged shards of broken glass. Brandon taunts them, saying they have no choice but to wear them, leaving the 2 friends completely frozen in horror. His whole crew just looks on, absolutely thrilled by this new torture. So the blonde girl steels herself, lifting her foot over the bucket, and plunges it right into the glass shards. She is just gritting her teeth, trying not to scream from the pain, while Brandon just yells at her to get on with it already, leaving her standing there shaking with both feet in the buckets of glass. And now he turns to the green-haired kid, telling him he is next. This green-haired kid steels himself, sweating absolute bullets, before stepping right into the bucket of glass. Yep, that is a choice. Brandon just snaps his fingers, kicking off this totally fair and balanced game. On the other side, the lone girl Shiori is pulling for her life, literally, while one of Brandon's goons helpfully reminds her that losing is not an option. So Shiori just screams that she's going to win this thing, and the blonde girl puts her entire soul into pulling that rope. As Shiori cries that she cannot make Brandon angry, a solid survival strategy. Even the green-haired kid is giving it his all, standing on a bucket of pure agony. But it is not enough, they all go tumbling to the floor, leaving a bloody mess of feet and shattered glass behind. Hayato, still with his 0 counter, just watches from the doorway, absolutely stunned and demanding to know what they are even doing. This kid explains Brandon's deal: win the game, join the club, arguing that just sitting there was a death sentence anyway. Brandon's crew just watches as the kid insists this is their only shot at survival. So Hayato helps his 2 injured friends limp towards the exit. Then in a quiet room, a single candle flickers, setting a somber mood. Our boy Hayato is now playing doctor, pulling glass from his friend's foot, who just stares ahead, grimly accepting he is dead tomorrow no matter what. This green-haired kid points out that staying here means they are out of the group for good, but Hayato insists sucking up to Brandon is not their only option for survival, which does not seem to comfort his friend in the slightest. Our boy grabs a bag, explaining he has a plan but it'll take time. And his friends can only watch as he walks away without another word, leaving them completely alone in the hallway. Meanwhile, a digital clock ticks down with less than an hour left, which sends the other 2 into a full-blown panic about what to do, and the green-haired kid is fresh out of ideas. This blonde girl, refusing to die, makes a desperate break for the classroom door, where she is immediately stopped by one of Brandon's cronies. Ken just smirks, loving every second of their desperation, then speculates that Hayato probably just ran off to die alone. In a moment of pure panic, the girl starts shouting for Lord Brandon. She is on the floor begging to join his group and take any test. Brandon, sitting on his throne of chairs, then asks the green-haired kid what his plan is, who immediately folds, admitting this is the only path to survival. Now he is on the ground too, begging for another chance to prove himself. And as they both bow, a pair of pliers gets tossed on the floor. This new entrance exam is here. Use the pliers to peel off each other's nails. Brandon kicks off his fun entrance exam, looking absolutely thrilled. But just as the torture is about to begin, the door bursts open, and it is Hayato announcing he is not here to take their stupid test, just standing there, radiating main character energy with that 0 on his head. His friends are totally floored, demanding to know where he has been. And the blonde girl immediately begs him to get on his knees and grovel with them. But Hayato just walks right past everyone, completely ignoring their pleas, as the green-haired kid tries to justify it, insisting they had no other choice. Hayato stops right by the pliers, looking down at his two friends on the floor, telling them to stay in this group, then picks up the pliers himself, only to toss the tool aside, saying none of this is necessary. Brandon, predictably, is absolutely furious about this little rebellion, kicking a bucket while demanding to know what Hayato means by a disappearing group. Hayato clarifies he is talking about Brandon's little fan club, of course, which makes Brandon's face contort with pure rage. He grabs a water bottle, threatening that Hayato's the one who is about to die, then hurls the bottle right at his head, but our boy just dodges it like it is nothing. This bottle clatters uselessly to the floor, completely missing its mark, and Hayato declares that his group is about to become the biggest one in the room. Hayato makes a final offer to Brandon's crew: switch sides while you still can, which makes the red-haired goon absolutely lose it, screaming that they paid good money. And Brandon just scoffs at the numbers. He has 8 people, Hayato has 3, but our boy just adjusts his glasses, saying that reality is about to be reversed. He reaches into that bag he was carrying earlier, then calls out to Ken specifically from across the room, leaving Ken and his buddy totally confused about what is happening. Hayato just walks right up to the guy, completely unfazed, holds out a hand, and suddenly his friend's numbers jump to 4. This rest of the class just watches, trying to process this sudden shift, while Brandon starts screaming, demanding to know what Ken thinks he is doing. Turns out Ken was not just defecting alone, he brought a whole squad with him, and one of the new recruits reminds Hayato to keep his promise. This green-haired kid and blonde girl are stunned as their own numbers shoot up to 8, while Brandon's remaining cronies panic, their numbers dropping to a pathetic 2. An absolutely furious Brandon orders his former lackeys not to move a muscle, then asks Hayato's new supergroup if they really think they can get away with this. Suddenly, a gold ring comes flying through the air, hitting him in the chest, and it is the red-haired kid declaring he does not owe Brandon a thing anymore. He slips off the bracelet, making the breakup official. Loyalty's got a price, apparently. Another one of his former crew takes off her earring, making the breakup official, and soon there is a whole pile of returned jewelry on the desk. So much for loyalty. Brandon and his last remaining goon are absolutely seething, while his former fangirls just cannot compute this mass defection. With less than 20 minutes left, Hayato asks what the plan is, and all these new recruits just stare at him, waiting for orders. One of the guys is still trying to process what team he is even on now, but the girls next to him are already begging to join Hayato's group. Our boy just casually says sure, like it is no big deal, which makes the last few neutral students realize they are totally screwed. This one girl in the corner steels herself, knowing what she has to do, then immediately asks if her group can join Hayato's team too, survival of the quickest. He just gives them a welcoming smile and says, "Come on in," leaving Brandon standing all alone against a classroom of his ex-followers. His number finally hits 0 and the look of pure shock is priceless. Hayato, now with a full roster of 20, announces the fear of death is officially over. And his two friends are just gushing, saying they knew he'd save them. Though the green-haired kid helpfully reminds the blonde she thought Hayato betrayed, Hayato just laughs, admitting he cannot really blame them for doubting him. In the background, Brandon gets a well-deserved beatdown from his former cronies. This beatdown continues as Brandon gets grabbed by the collar, while his last loyal goon calls his struggles pathetic. Oh, the irony. A simple reminder of the new math: it is 20 against 1 now. Brandon just gasps on the floor, completely powerless, as Hayato's new supergroup watches the karma unfold. Defeated, the former tyrant actually begs to join Hayato's group. Hayato just gives him a smug "you are welcome," savoring every second. But of course there is a condition, and Brandon's face just drops. Our boy explains that he chooses his friends, heavily implying Brandon ain't it. This fallen king absolutely loses it, demanding to know what that is supposed to mean. His former victims are quick to rub it in, saying he deserves all of this. Another girl calls him out for forcing her and her best friend to fight. The grievances are pouring out. Soon the whole class is demanding their money back, calling him a scammer. Finally breaking, Brandon asks what Hayato's condition is to join his crew. This price of admission: hand over every last bit of money he has. Brandon is, understandably, completely floored by this demand. Hayato clarifies he means everything asterisk, while Brandon tries to haggle the price of his safety. Our boy then picks up the pliers, offering a much more painful alternative. Brandon stares at the glowing tool of torture, realizing he is completely trapped. Defeated, he reaches into his pocket to pay up, the ultimate humiliation. Brandon whips out his phone, showing his bank account like it is a resume. But Hayato is not buying it, pointing out something Brandon conveniently forgot. Under the desk, a hand grabs a hidden red pouch, and our boy reveals the stash of cash Brandon tried to hide. With less than 5 minutes left, Hayato asks if this is really the time to haggle, which turns out to be a cool 2.5 million yen. Completely broken, Brandon is back on his knees, begging to join the group. Holding the cash, Hayato starts putting together why Brandon was so cruel. Then he absolutely explodes, screaming that this paper drove people to their deaths. All that cash gets thrown right in Brandon's face. Is it worth more than a life? This fallen king can only stare up in terror, completely speechless. As a simple lesson is delivered, life is not a toy. Hayato tells him to remember that if he truly wants to be a friend. And just like that, the clock hits 0, the game is over. This blonde girl just breaks down, crying tears of pure relief. While even the former goon looks on, processing that they actually survived. His green-haired friend is just as stunned, watching it all unfold, and suddenly Hayato's number ticks up from 20 to 21, meaning Brandon, still on the floor, is officially the newest member. Overwhelmed with relief, his friends demand to know how he managed to turn everyone. Hayato reveals his secret weapon was just a bag stuffed with cash, or at least that is what it looked like at a glance, explaining that this is how he bribed all of Brandon's followers. But the whole thing was a genius scam, just paper cut to size with one real bill on top. To sell the con, he even claimed his mom was a cult's treasurer, complete with photo evidence. His friend is absolutely stunned, and Hayato's just like, "Hey, it worked, did not it?" Ken confirms how they split the actual cash, with our boy promising to cover the difference. Brandon, still on the floor, cannot believe his crew sold him out for so little. Suddenly, a creepy new teacher figure appears, monologuing about friendship and trust, then declaring that in reality all those things were just money in disguise. They look down at Brandon, warning that those who deal in fakes cannot fool themselves. And this entire life lesson is delivered with the most terrifying shark-toothed grin ever. This new person observes the class, musing that none of them knew what was real to begin with. With a literal halo, they congratulate everyone on a job well done and announce a break. Then they tell the entire class to follow them out of the room, so the students just obediently file out into the hallway. Their guide leads them to a door-marked cooking room, which is not ominous at all. Inside, the place is set up like a banquet hall, leaving everyone totally confused. Hayato's crew spots place cards at the tables with all their names on them. This creepy host then instructs them all to sit down, 7 people to a table. This creepy host announces a celebration party for their hard work, nothing ominous here. And honestly, the hot pot in the middle of the table looks amazing. So this one kid, Nehiko, gets ready to dig in but has a question first, asking the terrifying host if they have any ponzu sauce, the absolute nerve. Which makes our host's eyes glow a menacing red, clearly offended by the request. And then they just explode, screaming about respecting the broth's flavor. Meanwhile, one of the girls happily says she wants to bring some home for her little brothers, gushing about how cute her 3 siblings are, and the mood gets surprisingly wholesome. But this talk of family seems to hit Hayato hard, who looks completely stunned. So his friend has to check on him, asking if he is okay while he is eating. Some of the others are still processing how Hayato even survived this long, with Nehiko joking that it must be the power of that fingernail charm he carries. But the blonde girl immediately shuts that down, reminding him it is from Hayato's mom. And another girl argues a charm could not save them, only to be told not to doubt Hayato. Realizing he hit a nerve, Nehiko backpedals fast, saying he was just kidding. So the blonde girl just offers to get him more food, trying to keep things friendly. And Hayato watches his new friends interact, looking genuinely touched, making it feel for a moment like a normal high school lunch. He even smiles, vowing they will all survive and go home to their families. And right on cue, the numbers on their heads start glitching out violently. Party's over. Suddenly, all the numbers on their heads change to 5, and our creepy host explains this is just the head count for each table. But Ken immediately points out the math is wrong, there are 7 of them. With a terrifying grin, the host clarifies it only counts your allies, because anyone plotting to poison the group does not make the cut. Lovely. This word poison sends a shockwave through Hayato's entire table, as the host tells everyone to open their chopstick sleeves for the main event. This kid with glasses opens his, warned not to speak a word of what he finds, just to read it, fold it, and put it back without a sound. His little note helpfully informs him he is a banquet poisoner, which sends him into a silent internal spiral, because of course it is him again. After everything they just went through to survive, this whole group realizes they are being pitted against each other all over again. This kid clenches his fist, refusing to let anyone else die on his watch. But just then, a projector screen rolls down from the ceiling. A cute little cartoon explains the new game, Guests versus Poisoners, confirming the numbers on their heads exclude the 2 traitors at their table. Realizing there is no way out, the kid steels himself to play, vowing to survive for the sake of a loved one no matter what it takes. Then the host calls for a wolfman to enter the room, because why not add werewolves to this mess? In walk 3 wolf-headed butlers, here to collect the chopstick sleeves, and our creepy host lays out the rules. This little banquet will have 3 rounds. First up is the banquet phase, where everyone votes to exile one unlucky person. Followed by the poisoning phase, where they all get to eat the hot pot. One of the girls immediately asks the million-dollar question, what does exiled actually mean? This host just cackles that it means severing ties, a very permanent kind of social distancing. Suddenly, a glowing blade snaps into place on the back of her chair, and she realizes exile is just a cute little euphemism for death. This execution tools are even laid out for them, a blowtorch and a knife, real classy. A closer look at the chair's new feature reveals a small screen attached to it, and Nehiko spots the same device on his own chair, the panic finally setting in. This cartoon then explains the poisoner's job, point at someone and spike their food. Clarifying this poison can drop an elephant, its effect on people is left to your imagination. Everyone at the table is just frozen in absolute terror. While the poisoner with glasses adds another fun rule, you have to eat everything served or else. This whole group just grabs their heads, completely losing it under the pressure. This cartoon explains the win condition. If guests outnumber poisoners after 3 rounds, the poisoners die. But if the poisoners manage to equal the guests, then all the guests are toast. The students finally notice the wolf-headed guard standing right behind them, watching every move, as the host dramatically names the game Poisoning Werewolf, because of course it is. This blonde girl realizes this is just another killing game, but our creepy host tells them not to worry. What a comfort. He reveals a special twist: an antidote can neutralize the poison, explaining one player is the antidote master who can save an ally. Of course, there is a catch: they cannot use it on themselves. With that, the host goes full monster mode to start the first round, as the wolf-headed butlers loom over them, making sure nobody gets any bright ideas. An hourglass gets placed on the table, ticking down their time. They have got 3 minutes to discuss who gets the axe. One kid immediately starts screaming that he is not a poisoner, totally not suspicious. Ken immediately calls him out since obviously everyone will say that, while another girl panics, asking how they can decide with zero clues. But Hayato, our secret poisoner, has a plan brewing, asking a simple question: all true guests, raise your hand. That same screaming kid's hand shoots up, desperate to prove his innocence. And Ken raises his hand too, looking way more composed. Brandon's former goon follows suit, his expression unreadable, while the girl who questioned things also plays along, raising her hand. A purple-haired girl raises hers, clearly confused by the sudden test, and the blonde girl joins in, though she has no idea what is happening. Hayato explains his genius test: raising your hand proves you are a guest. But one of the girls immediately points out that is impossible to prove. So Nehiko proudly declares his sleeve said guest in big letters: checkmate. This purple-haired girl just calls him an idiot since poisoner is written the same way, and another girl roasts him for only proving he cannot read the room. Even the blonde girl is over it, asking Hayato why he is wasting their precious time, while the redhead suggests they just exile the two idiots. Problem solved. Hayato is completely floored by this very simple, very brutal solution, and the blonde girl quickly tries to talk everyone down from that idea. At the head of the table, the kid with glasses just calmly watches the chaos, when suddenly Ken breaks into a massive, knowing grin, announcing to the whole table that he has found their target. Thanks to Hayato's little stunt, he is locked onto one suspicious person, and he looks way, way too happy about it. This others immediately start to panic, demanding to know who it is. With Nehiko, of course, being the first to scream that it is not him. This kid with glasses then lays down some cold logic, trying to prove you are a guest is the most suspicious move of all. Then he turns and points the finger directly at Hayato, accusing him of being a poisoner pretending to be a guest. To sell the lie, he calmly claims he has been a guest from the very beginning. This blonde girl calls out Hayato's weird test, but he insists it had a point. As our glasses-wearing poisoner explains his big brain logic, a real poisoner would hesitate, because they'd be overthinking if there was a secret sign only guests knew. By that logic, Nehiko, who shot his hand up first, is totally trustworthy, and Nehiko completely eats it up, immediately declaring Hayato his new best friend. What a tool. Meanwhile, the blonde girl is losing her mind over how dumb this all is. But Glasses Kid internally smirks, thinking it is great to use fools as tools. Someone then asks what the second part of his genius deduction was, and he reveals one person was suspiciously slow to raise their hand, putting Ami on blast by saying a real guest would not have hesitated for a second. She immediately panics, swearing she is a guest and was just caught off guard. But Ken is thinking she is a terrible liar, pegging her as the other poisoner and the antidote master. He gets this terrifying grin, realizing Hayato's dumb plan was actually useful for once, then lies to the group, claiming he saw her panic when she read her role. Ami completely loses it, screaming that it is not true at all. But Ken just goes for the throat, saying they cannot let a poisoner live. She keeps pleading her case, insisting she is a guest as the timer ticks down. So with zero hesitation, Ken casts his vote to exile Ami, asking if anyone objects. This other girls just stare at each other across the steaming hot pot, the tension insane, and Ami is just frozen in pure terror, realizing she has been completely cornered. But just as the vote is about to be locked in, Ken leans back and says he is not voting for Ami. Everyone at the table is completely baffled since he is the one who just accused her. And he gets all technical, saying he only suggested she was not a guest, not that she was a poisoner. This makes the purple-haired girl realize Ami might actually be the antidote master, while Brandon's old goon just grits his teeth, processing this new angle. One of the other guys argues that if she was, she should have just said so when she was accused. But the purple-haired girl points out she'd be an instant target, so they cannot exile her. Our creepy host then chimes in that they have got about 1 minute left to vote, just to add some pressure. Suddenly, a voice cuts through the chaos, declaring Ami is not the antidote master, and the whole table turns, demanding to know how they can be so sure. When the blonde girl drops a bomb because she is the antidote master, this sends the pink-haired girl into a state of absolute shock, as chaos erupts with everyone trying to figure out who is telling the truth. Ken points out that with two potential antidote masters, exiling either one is a terrible move. Then the orange-haired guy pivots, saying another girl, Canny, was just as slow to raise her hand, which makes Spiky Hair immediately ask if Canny is the other poisoner. Canny, the purple-haired girl, gets called an idiot but explains she was just watching things unfold, insisting she had no clue what Hayato's dumb test was even for. But the redhead pipes up, saying she saw what happened to Mai and knows Hayato is dangerous. And while the blonde girl defends him, Canny just scoffs, "That is rich coming from you." This redhead goes for the jugular, blaming them for getting Mai killed. But the blonde girl just insists Hayato's methods are plain terrifying, while Nehiko asks Ken why Canny is so hostile towards Hayato, and the orange-haired guy's galaxy brain fires up, she must be an enemy, so he immediately accuses Canny of being the other poisoner. This red-headed girl, Sae, jumps to her defense, saying she is just paranoid by nature, which only makes the guy more certain now they are both the poisoners. Suddenly, the host's voice cuts in, calling the blonde girl a fake friend to Mai, declaring this whole group is way more twisted than any poisoner could be, and with a manic grin, he announces it is finally time to vote. Everyone is ordered to close their eyes around the steaming pot. As the host explains the silent point-to-exile voting system, one of the wolf butlers reaches out to tap the first voter, and in the darkness, fingers start pointing at the chosen victims. Our host looks absolutely delighted with the outcome, ready to announce the results of their little democracy or mob whatever, and he points to reveal who is getting kicked out of the friend group permanently. This results are in, Kenny gets 3 votes, sealing her fate. She is in total disbelief as the execution blade snaps into place on her chair, and a wolf guard looms over her with a bottle ready to carry out the sentence. This host gleefully announces it is time to bid farewell to the outcast, as the execution bottle glows red and someone screams in protest. But the wolf butler holds Kenny down without a second of hesitation, and just like that she has left the banquet, a very polite term for brutally eliminated. This blonde girl looks on in absolute horror, completely stunned, while the guest counter above their heads officially drops to 4. Then comes the gut punch, a wolf drags her body away, confirming Kenny was a guest all along. With 0 time to process their massive screw-up, the butlers start serving the next course, announcing it is officially the poisoning phase. Oh goody. Our creepy host tells everyone to close their eyes, holding up the poisoner card, whispering a friendly reminder that anyone who peeks gets instantly deleted. He explains the rules, poisoners point, and if they agree on a target, it is a done deal. In the darkness, one of the poisoners makes their move, and the orange-haired guy points with a truly unhinged grin on his face. Meanwhile, the remaining guests are none the wiser, eyes shut tight. This host then announces the target is locked in and it is time for the special roles to act. Tapping someone on the shoulder to secretly use their power. A green liquid splashes into one of the bowls, the antidote is in play. Now everyone's told to pick up their chopsticks and enjoy the meal, and the spiky-haired kid realizes with dawning horror that they actually have to eat it. So yeah, everyone has to eat their potentially poisoned meal, and both Hayato and Ken look incredibly tense as they take a bite. This blonde girl considers the fact this poison can kill an elephant. After a few chews, the whole table just waits in terrifying silence. Hayato realizes their target was saved, the antidote master interfered, which makes Naohiko cheer that they are invincible. What a useful idiot. Inside his head, Ken is absolutely fuming that their kill failed. With the meal over, it is time for another round of accusations and exile. Sae immediately loses it, screaming that they killed an innocent person, and she points the finger right at Hayato, blaming his stupid test. Ken just smirks in the background, loving every second of the chaos. Thinking this is the perfect chance to get his partner exiled, he even joins in, telling Hayato that this is all his fault. But another girl points out Ken was the one who actually accused Kenny. Someone else argues his weird test was bound to cause confusion anyway, and now the whole table is demanding Hayato apologize for getting Kenny killed. Cornered, Hayato asks Sae if she is going to vote for him, and she screams back that of course she is, he caused all this. Ken is just soaking it all in, thinking yep, exile Hayato. Finally, Hayato turns to his partner Ken, asking if he will betray him too. Ken claims he is voting for Hayato to make amends. What a noble guy. And with 2 votes now stacked against him, Hayato starts to panic, desperately turning to a girl named Erika for support, which backfires spectacularly as she screams she is voting for him too. This gears finally start turning in Hayato's head. Is Ken a poisoner? Ken immediately loses it, screaming at Erika for spouting nonsense, but she is not backing down, placing a hand on her chest defiantly. She completely loses her cool, screaming that she has no proof but she knows. So Sae jumps on the bandwagon, declaring she will not be fooled again. Hayato just closes his eyes, thinking I see, as the walls close in. In a stunning move, he turns to Naohiko and admits he is not a guest. And his new bestie is absolutely floored, screaming in disbelief. This just throws the whole table into chaos, wondering if Naohiko is a poisoner now too. But Hayato tells his loyal puppy Naohiko that it is fine if he votes for his exile. Ken looks absolutely thrilled, holding up 4 fingers to seal Hayato's fate. But our boy holds up a finger, asking for one last word before they vote. He stands, facing the remaining players with a final gambit in mind. As the hot pot rumbles as if hungry for another victim, then he drops the asterisk real bomb with a smirk. He is the poison taster. Sae immediately screams that it is more nonsense, refusing to believe him. Ken immediately loses it, screaming for everyone to ignore Hayato and just hang him. But Hayato calmly explains his role. He was tapped during the poisoning phase and pointed at someone. This whole table is hanging on his every word as Naohiko asks what happened next. And our boy reveals his power. Let him learn that person's role, making Naohiko's brain short-circuit, because Hayato confirms with a dead serious look that he found a poisoner. Suddenly, every single person at the table is a suspect again, eyes glowing with paranoia. His loyal puppy Naohiko grabs him, demanding to know who the poisoner is. But Hayato's playing it cool, saying he has one little request before he drops the name. He looks right at the table and asks the antidote master to protect him, explaining that if they exile the person he outs, the other poisoner will absolutely target him next. Naohiko is just blown away, calling him a fortune teller and begging him to spill the beans already. And then he drops the name with ice in his veins. The poisoner is Ken. Ken absolutely explodes, calling it a worthless lie and screaming to exile Hayato immediately. But Erika cuts in, pointing out that if he is telling the truth, they absolutely cannot exile him. This other girls are not buying it, saying the timing is way too convenient, why wait until he is on the chopping block? He calmly explains that revealing his role earlier would have just gotten him killed instantly, this was his only shot. Our delightful host pops back in, announcing they have 1 minute left just to crank up the pressure. Ken is sweating bullets now, screaming that they are out of time and not to be fooled, just exile Hayato. Meanwhile, poor Naohiko is having a complete meltdown, clutching his head because he has no idea who to believe. Hayato, cool as a cucumber, turns to Sae and asks her to remember one little detail. Who pointed the finger at Kanny first? C's brain finally clicks, Ken was the one who first accused Kanny. And our delightful host pops back in with a timer, ready for the vote. So the fingers start pointing once again in the darkness. As the host asks if they are mentally prepared for the consequences, nope, definitely not. One by one, the votes are cast to decide who gets kicked out next, and the host announces it is time to see who gets their ties severed. Revealing the final tally, Ken gets 4 votes, Hayato only gets 2. Ken is absolutely stunned, his perfect plan just blew up in his face, and he slams the table in a rage as his fate is sealed. Because the execution blade snaps right into place on his chair. This glowing red blade whirs to life, ready for business. While a wolf butler looms over him with wait, is that a hand mixer? Ken lets out a final desperate scream as he is eliminated from the game, and the wolf butler calmly announces the severance is complete, yikes. Hayato just watches, splattered with the aftermath, his gamble having paid off. Another wolf zips up the body bag with Erika looking on in horror, leaving the remaining survivors in a state of total shock. And Hayato confirms it, Ken was a poisoner and they got him. Now the remaining 4 just sit there, wondering when the killing will finally stop. While on a monitor, someone asks what part of this is supposed to be educational, a very fair question. Meanwhile, a vice principal is absolutely losing his mind, telling his boss he cannot approve of this whole experiment, so he storms off to find the person responsible for this mess. Demanding to speak to whoever is in charge, a bold strategy, let us see how it plays out. He goes to open a door to continue his righteous complaint, only to find a man in sunglasses waiting for him on the other side, who gives him a friendly reminder that he is also under surveillance, before immediately jabbing him in the neck to shut him up. And now the poor guy is on the floor, surrounded by men in black, looking up in total shock as his protest comes to a swift end. Then one of the agents pulls out a rope, smiling like HR complaints are not welcome here. Back in the game, the remaining 4 are just trying to decompress. And Naohiko's brain finally catches up, Hayato was right all along. Sae puts a hand on Hayato's shoulder, suddenly his biggest fan, telling him she is glad she trusted him and that he has a great role. But Hayato just brushes her hand away, looking dead serious, because he has already decided whose role he is going to check next. And his target is Erika, who looks like she is about to have a panic attack, as he stares her down from across the table with cold intent. She is internally screaming, knowing if he checks her, she is definitely getting exiled. Erika's internal monologue drops a bomb, she is a poisoner, and she is internally raging, wondering why Hayato would call her out so publicly. A new theory hits her, is he just a decoy for the antidote master? Hayato just smirks, questioning her faith in some unseen protector. So Erika puts on a happy face, thinking this will prove she is an innocent guest. Back at the table, the mood is grim as the next phase begins, because a poisoner's main job is simply to thin the herd. With Hayato likely protected, the wolf butler has his eyes on a different target. Our delightful host announces it is time for round 2 of poisoning, eyes shut everyone. Erika's mind is racing, convinced Hayato is trying to shield the antidote master, and she considers killing the girl next to her but realizes that is playing right into his hands. Besides, she is not even sure his poison taster role is real. Overwhelmed, she points a finger, deciding to make a move of her own. This host then calls for all the special roles to do their secret work, just loving the chaos as the invisible fingers of fate make their choices. That creepy grin says he is having the absolute time of his life, and with the choices locked in, he tells everyone to enjoy their meal, someone's about to get got. Everyone picks up their chopsticks for another round of death roulette. As Hayato takes a bite, his eyes wide with focus, and suddenly the red-haired guy starts choking, we have our victim. And just like that, Sae starts choking up Pink, we have our next victim. Our delightful host announces the banquet phase, which is just a nice way of saying time to vote someone else out. Naohiko is horrified Sae is dead and he is wondering if she was the antidote master. Desperate for answers, he grabs Hayato, demanding to know what his poison tasting revealed. Erika immediately objects, screaming that his poison taster role is totally unproven. Hayato just calmly confirms he checked Erika's role and yup, she is a poisoner. In a panic, Erika claims Hayato wants her exiled so he can kill everyone else. This completely scrambles Naohiko's brain, is Hayato the bad guy after all? But the other girl, Ami, points out a huge flaw. Why would he exile his own partner? Ken Erika fires back that he did it to throw everyone off his trail, a classic villain move. Ami is not buying it, asking why Ken would not have just outed him before getting axed. Poor Naohiko is back to clutching his head, totally unable to process any of this. With his head on the table, Erika whispers that Hayato is a cunning traitor. She places a hand on his shoulder, trying to look like a trusted friend, before claiming she is the antidote master and will protect him if he trusts her. Hayato just looks over and deadpans. That is the fourth time. Erika's confident act completely shatters as she asks what he means. With ice in his eyes, Hayato warns her that a lie can only stretch so far. Her face goes pale with terror. The bluff has been called. And right on cue, the host announces 1 minute to vote just to turn up the heat. Hayato drops the hammer. He has counted 4 separate lies from her so far, calling it an unconscious habit she probably does not even notice, and reveals her tell. Whenever she lies, she grabs her collar. And what do you know, her hand is right there on her collar, caught red-handed. Our boy explains he clocked this from the start, which is how he knew she was a poisoner. So Erika desperately asks why he did not just get her exiled immediately, and he says he let her run free just to identify her partner in crime. Her little nervous habit was the final nail in Ken's coffin, confirming he was a poisoner too. Cornered, she goes nuclear, screaming that Hayato's the real villain and she is the antidote master, which makes Naohiko turn to Hayato, asking if that means Ami is the real one. Ami chimes in, explaining she was about to reveal her role when she was under suspicion, but she stayed quiet, afraid it would get Erika killed and that no one would believe her. Naohiko's brain is working overtime, realizing Ami would have protected Hayato, and if he is a guest and Hayato is the poison taster, then that means Hayato just casually holds up a piece of food, cutting him off with a smug look. He then admits the poison taster role was a total lie to make things simple. What a legend. Poor Naohiko's brain just completely short-circuits at this 5D chess move. Meanwhile, Erika is still on her soapbox, screaming that Hayato is the liar. But Naohiko finally gets it, pointing and declaring Ami is the real antidote master. To which Hayato points out the obvious. Erika's grabbing her collar again, lying through her teeth. This last grains of sand fall, sealing Erika's fate. As Ami thanks Naohiko for having her back through all this, and the wolf butler confirms the vote, Erika is officially out, so the poisoner gets dragged off for her own severance. What a twist. Now only 3 survivors are left at the table, stunned, while the wolf butlers stand by, their job for the day complete. Back in the control room, someone is watching, determined to stop this madness. But our righteous vice principal is a little tied up at the moment, still vowing to end this experiment no matter the cost. Just then, a new pair of shoes walks into the room, and through the door comes a man who looks like he owns the place. This guy strolls in, pleased with how well his project is going, telling the VP to quit the rebellious act because this is a government gig. With a terrifying grin, he asks why anyone would possibly resist. So the VP fires back, demanding to know what he thinks students' lives are worth. This boss just dismisses it as a lesson in social adaptability, peak corporate doublespeak. While the VP struggles, he calls out the loss of precious lives and the country's future. But the boss just offers him a raise with a demonic glow, and the VP is horrified at the idea of selling out for money. His boss just internally scoffs, thinking he is just playing the role of a hero. This boss lays down the corporate gospel, we are just employees following orders. And he goes in for a condescending little pat on the head, before grabbing the VP's hair, yelling that his morals are an inconvenience. In response, the VP spits right in his face, peak professionalism, and the boss is just frozen, processing this very hostile, fluid exchange, while our VP, ever the hero, tries to get him to join the rebellion, which just gets his face slammed into the ground for his trouble. His boss just mocks him for being trapped by his own ideals, telling him to just watch the educational feed like a good employee. Then comes the ultimate power move, threatening to fire him after this is all over. As the boss walks off, the VP is left tied up and fuming, who adds that the next class is PE, which definitely does not sound good. Elsewhere, a purple-haired teacher is watching in horror, her conscience kicking in. Back in the room, the VP is trying to break free by headbutting a glass panel. A plan that fails spectacularly, leaving him dazed on the floor. But he is not giving up, using a sharp object to saw through his bonds. When he suddenly remembers a loophole, the manual has conditions for stopping the game. With the ropes almost severed, he has got a new plan taking shape, and his eyes are filled with a whole new level of determination. Meanwhile, another participant is running for his life, trapped in a hallway of pure terror. This VP's eyes lock onto the emergency protocol. A fire will stop the game. His destination is a supply closet, conveniently stocked with gasoline, so he grabs a can, figuring a little arson is a small price to pay for saving lives. But he is not alone. A new voice chimes in, disappointed in his lack of team spirit. Stunned, the VP whips around, completely caught off guard, and hurls the can, screaming about the so-called educational value of this death game. It misses its target, spilling flammable liquid all over the floor, while the newcomer calmly lectures that education requires innovation, and we get a full look at this psychoscientist who claims teachers just do not get interpersonal relationships. Our VP has no idea what this guy is even talking about, so the scientist illustrates his point. Some people cannot cut off toxic relationships, while others fail to maintain the beneficial ones. This social failure, he argues, completely messes up their entire lives, which is why his urgent task is to collect data on them for science, of course. This VP, being a sane person, points out that this is a terrible justification, but the scientist just calls friendship a primitive relationship perfect for sampling. This sends the VP into a rage, flashing back to the students who have already died. As the psycho continues his lecture, those who cannot manage their friendships will be discarded in the real world too, as he crosses Erika's name right off the list. His final cheerful thought, they should be happy to die for his precious data, Realizing talk is pointless, the VP reaches for his secret weapon, pulling out a lighter to kickstart his emergency protocol. But the psychoscientist is right there, ruining the moment with a creepy grin. He dangles the lighter, having already eliminated any interference with the project. And our VP is absolutely seething, his arson plan totally foiled. But then he remembers another loophole: the game stops if the project manager dies, and a dangerous glint in his eye means plan B is officially a go. He asks the scientist what would happen if he were to become non-functional, who just seems impressed he read the manual as the VP grabs a shovel. With that same terrifying smile, he asks the VP to apply that passion to the project instead. Before explaining his philosophy, some students die for data, others live for it, is not that great. This VP's hand tightens on the shovel, completely disgusted by this logic. He calls out this superior versus inferior talk as a total failure of education, screaming that a monster like him has no right to be a teacher, before smashing the shovel right into his own skull to incapacitate himself. This scientist reacts instantly, pulling a gun and firing at point-blank range. He just stands there with a smoking pistol, looking almost surprised at what he did. Then he quotes the manual, harming project members as grounds for lethal force, so the VP is left bleeding out on the floor, his desperate plan backfiring horribly. This scientist just stares down, his expression unreadable, as the scene cuts to the school rooftop. Elsewhere, a group of students are just hanging out behind the school building. And the blue-haired kid is complaining that the math curriculum is way too broad, while his wavy-haired friend agrees, saying he is too busy for all that studying. When another guy approaches, just as the friend pulls out a cigarette, priorities, you know. With a smug grin, he claims it is the only thing that gets him through the day. But their chill session is interrupted by the fun police yelling about entrance exams, who just gets called too serious and warned that stress will kill him. And that response makes the guy absolutely snap, revealing some very sharp teeth. He lunges forward, screaming for him to hand over the cigarette, and in the scuffle, the cigarette drops right to the ground, which he promptly stomps out with extreme prejudice. But a new voice cuts in from behind, asking what the hell he is doing, and this newcomer looks completely unimpressed, commenting on the smell, before ordering the angry kid, Makuzuka, to move his foot. Without waiting for an answer, he just shoves Makuzuka right out of the way, then bends down to pick up the nasty, stomped-out cigarette butt, leaving Makuzuka just staring, completely baffled by this turn of events, as this absolute madman puts the crushed butt right in his own mouth. With that settled, he tells the whole group to follow him, laying out their alibi, just deny everything, it is their word against one cigarette butt. Makuzuka gets hauled off, pleading his innocence while his friends just watch, and their destination is the one and only student guidance room. Our cigarette-eating hero waits outside, looking less than thrilled, until the door finally swings open, and the blue-haired kid tells him it is Makuzuka's turn to go in. With that, the kid just sprints away down the hall, which is not suspicious at all. So our guy heads inside, finding a teacher casually waiting for him on the couch, who greets him with a smug "so it was you after all." Then he drops the bomb. All three of Makuzuka's buddies ratted him out as the smoker. Makuzuka is just stunned, completely blindsided by the betrayal. He slams the desk, insisting he would not risk his school recommendation for a smoke. But the teacher brings up the evidence, the cigarette butt under his shoe. With a truly punchable grin, he tells him to just admit he is a nicotine addict. Makuzuka absolutely loses it and grabs the teacher, who just taunts him for getting violent. He is at his breaking point, begging anyone to believe him, before shoving the teacher so hard he goes flying. Meanwhile, our MC is thinking that anyone who arbitrarily judges students has no right to be a teacher. His face is pure cold fury. This has clearly crossed a line. At that moment, his phone buzzes and he picks it up. As a voice on the other end addresses someone as Commander Makuzuka, plot twist. A call from HQ comes in demanding a meeting in the monitoring room, and Makuzuka casually answers, stepping over the VP's body like it is a welcome mat. He strolls into the control center, ready for his big progress report, picking up a secure phone to get right down to business. This voice on the other end asks how his little data collection is going, while his superior brings up the minor issue of, all the dead students. Makuzuka just snaps, calling the body count an acceptable margin of error, all for the sake of his friendship culling project, which is a totally normal thing to name a project. This boss reminds him he is in charge of the whole deadly operation, and that the goal is not just to make a mountain of corpses, surprisingly. With a terrifying grin, Makuzuka promises they are getting great asterisk data on culling factors. Swearing he is willing to die for this project, it is his life's work. Just as he hangs up, the purple-haired teacher approaches, calling him commander, who bravely suggests maybe they should check on the student's mental health, and even comes prepared with a whole list of PTSD specialists. This suggestion gets her clipboard slapped away, cannot have therapy tainting the pure, unadulterated trauma data. He mocks her for even caring about their mental state, arguing that data from a soft environment is completely useless for his research. Then he just chugs a bottle of pills to really drive the point home, I guess. Now totally jacked up on who knows what, he declares he will handle it himself. Makuzuka strides off, ready to get his hands dirty himself. While back in the game, the remaining students are still under constant surveillance. And this green-haired kid, Sora, is just trying to process how many are even left alive. His friend claps him on the shoulder, surprised he survived without his buddy Hayato. What a pal. A girl with glasses immediately jumps to his defense, calling Sora a super strong antidote master, as they all notice another group celebrating their own win across the room. This big guy just sneers that the guests have it easy, totally not bitter at all. An announcement then declares the next class is team-based because nothing says fun like a group project from hell. Looking down at his bowl, he mutters that this nightmare is not ending anytime soon. So the whole crew gets herded down the hall towards the gymnasium. They arrive to find another group of students already waiting on the basketball court, and our blue-haired MC just stares, wondering what fresh horror is coming next. And there he is, a new psycho with white hair and shark teeth, just casually bouncing a ball. He lifts the basketball, his creepy stitched-up smile asking a silent question. Before he sends the ball flying with a flick of his wrists, then he asks if they like basketball, flashing a grin that says you are about to hate it. This game is called 3 Dead 3. Subtlety was clearly not in the budget for this project. All the students just stare in horror, realizing it is a team-based PE class, as this new game master cheerfully offers to explain the rules. And for his demonstration, he brings out two guys in full fencing gear, one holding a sword, sure, why not? So the game is 3-on-3 basketball with 3 teams on the court, and the points are pretty standard, 2 for close range, 3 for long shots, followed by a quick lesson on double dribbling, you know, the basics, while traveling is also a turnover, giving the ball to the other team. Any malicious fouls result in free throws, so play nice, kids. This first team to score 2 points wins, but you just know there is a catch, because this game is called 3 Dead 3 for a reason, obviously. For instance, if you miss a shot and your team cannot secure the rebound, this student who took that shot is immediately eliminated permanently. Our MC and his friends just stare, realizing this is not just PE anymore. A spiky-haired kid has a galaxy brain idea: just stay on the bench and do not play. Our shark-toothed host finds that adorable, wagging his finger like nice try, because when an opposing team hits 7 points, a substitute dies anyway. Sora absolutely loses it, screaming that it is like they are being held hostage. Worse, if a team racks up 21 points, all the subs are wiped out. Our blue-haired MC is absolutely fuming at these insane rules, as the whole group does the math and realizes a loss means a massacre. Standing alone, he steels himself, refusing to watch any more classmates die. But there is a strategic twist: sink a 3-pointer and you can force a player swap. With that, he tells everyone to get changed. The game starts in 5 minutes, good luck. This guys get their jerseys, looking absolutely thrilled for death basketball, and our MC Brandon realizes his hoop skills are now a matter of survival. A buff dude asks him for his basketball resume and he is not looking confident, but at least the big guy knows the rules, comparing it to street ball. He then tosses the ball over to Sora, asking if he is any good, who admits he quit in middle school for being too short. Great start, team. Still, Sora figures it is better to play than just die on the bench, when suddenly a new player makes a move, and a blonde girl just swipes the ball right from under his nose. She schools him on his sloppy dribbling, calling out his high, wide stance, warning him that his technique is just an open invitation for steals. And just like that, she sinks the shot, leaving everyone stunned. Sora asks the girl Ami if she played, and she reveals she was a regular before quitting for family. This girl with glasses nervously admits she has only practiced shooting a bit in class, so all eyes turn to the last 2 members of their group. One of them confesses this is her first time properly handling a basketball. Perfect. Her friend agrees, finding the ball way bigger and harder to score with than she thought. This buff guy then calls out Brandon, saying his earlier throw screamed total amateur, and a look at the scoreboard shows their opponent is class 1. With intense focus, our boy just tells them all to watch. Brandon immediately shows off some slick moves, faking out 2 defenders, and sinks a perfect layup like it is nothing, which leaves his teammates completely floored by his hidden talent. He just casually wipes off the sweat, trying to play it cool, until a hand suddenly grabs his shoulder from behind, and this new pretty boy with pink highlights asks him to join him on the court. Then he gets way too close, suggesting they could date if they survive. Great timing, dude. This buff guy points out that their opponents are just one guy and a bunch of girls, which gets a pretty appropriate what the hell reaction from the peanut gallery. Sora recognizes the guy as Ami from class 1, and he does not look happy about it, especially since Ami's teammates are giving off some seriously unhinged vibes. Apparently they are his fan club, the Eaters, a totally normal and not at all creepy name. It is explained that his fans can literally touch, smell, and even eat him if they want. Brandon is understandably flustered while one of the Eaters looks ready for violence. Turns out these fans are actually predators, and Ami is the prey they are all fighting over. This scoreboard lights up, signaling the official start of the game, as a hooded figure calls the first 3 players to the court. Ami steps up with Brandon but says his team is just him and one girl for now, because the rest are playing rock, paper, scissors for the honor of the 3rd spot. Our heroes just watch, realizing this is going to be a complete circus. Ami steps up to Brandon, telling him she is ready to fight, while the buff guy volunteers, banking on pure brawn over actual skill. He tries to pick Sora for the team, but the girl with glasses immediately vetoes that idea, because a quick glance at their opponents reveals they're not here to play nice. Yeah, Ami and his fan club are radiating some seriously unhinged energy. Ami asks Brandon for his help, calling back to the werewolf game, and our boy admits he is a total rookie but will give it his all. Suddenly, the shark-toothed host chimes in with one last little twist, explaining a counter will now float over everyone's head, showing their personal score. If all players on the court have the same score, the next point is worth 5 times as much. Great, a multiplier. This fencer ref steps in to decide who goes first with a classic game of rock, paper, scissors, and with the first possession decided, the match begins. Brandon gets the ball, immediately guarded by Ami, his mind racing to prevent a massacre, but one of the eaters instantly swoops in for the steal. And without a moment's hesitation, she goes for the shot. This ball sails through the air as Brandon watches, completely helpless, while Ami just smirks, congratulating his teammate on a clean shot. Just like that, the scoreboard flips to 2-0 and the game is already over. Brandon is absolutely stunned, demanding to know what Ami's deal is, who just gives him a breezy "oh yeah, sure" and a dismissive wave. Ami tells his fan club he is responsible for protecting them, which is a new one. So the ref immediately gives the ball to Class 1, of course. This new blonde player on Brandon's team is absolutely done with Ami's whole vibe, and with that the game resumes. So the blonde player immediately tears down the court, driving to the basket, but one of the eaters is already on him. She just straight up snatches the ball right out of his hands, while the guy with glasses tries to defend, realizing they need to stop this now. But she just jukes him out of his shoes, no problem. Moving with some seriously unhinged speed and focus. Yeah, he is realizing the skill gap here is an absolute chasm, as she calls out to Ami that she is shooting and to be ready for the rebound. She goes for the shot, but another one of their teammates jumps to contest it, giving it her all, trying to psych herself up for the block, and it looks like she actually gets a piece of the ball, but the shot misses, which means someone is about to die. Ami gives her a high five, calling the missed shot excellent. Okay, psycho. He gets way too close, thanking her for saving him while she gets all flustered, which immediately makes another eater jealous, telling her to get her sweaty hands off him. This scoreboard shows 2-4 and the bench is panicking. If Class 1 hits 7, a sub dies. This buff guy suggests just breaking Ami's legs, but Sora vetoes it. A foul means free throws, which could kill their subs. Over on Ami's team, his star player Mahane gets a nice one from a teammate, which is immediately rewarded with a slap across the face. So much for team spirit. And she is screaming that she is the one risking her life, so her teammate better get in position. But the other girl, Kasumi, just smirks, saying Mahane is not the only one who can shoot, while Ami just watches this dumpster fire, thinking he needs to manage Mahane's temper. So he steps in like the perfect idol, telling them to support their ace player together, then immediately orders them to just follow his lead and not even think about shooting, which has Mahane absolutely fuming at his high and mighty attitude. Back in the game, Brandon is desperately looking for a way to get the ball to Ami, but with Ami guarding her like his life depends on it, the pass looks impossible. So Brandon just yells out his entire plan, telling Ami to get ready. And he looks up to find her completely boxed in by Ami's fan club, who just straight up call him an amateur for the obvious play. Because yeah, announcing your pass out loud makes it a little asterisk easy to intercept, and Brandon is left completely stunned as the ball is swiped away, with Mahane immediately diving for it, showing some serious hustle. This big guy tries to body her, but she just slips right past him, leaving him roaring in frustration as she breaks away clean. And the ball sails toward the basket for what looks like another easy 2 points, but the rebound just bounces right off some poor guy's head. Great start, team. So Ami dives for the loose ball, yelling that she has got it, and she immediately sets up for a shot, trying to salvage the play, while Class 1 scrambles, yelling at Kasumi to stop her at all costs. Kasumi closes in to defend, but Ami is already making her move, planting her foot for a quick pivot to the basket. And she almost gets past, but Kasumi grabs her, trying to block the path, which earns her a scream from Mahane, calling her useless trash. Peak team morale. Kasumi just freezes for a second, completely stunned by the insult, but then her expression shifts to pure unadulterated rage. As Ami drives past, Kasumi lunges from behind, not even looking at the ball, and just smashes her elbow right into the back of Ami's head, sending her sprawling to the floor as Kasumi stands over her looking satisfied. This ref's whistle blows instantly. It is a foul and a free throw. Brandon helps Ami up, who grits her teeth and says she will make the shot, but her own bench starts yelling that she is dragging them down and needs to sub out, prompting one of the guys to fire back, asking whose side they are even on, and Kasumi just snaps, screaming that they were the ones who told her to stop Ami. This ball sits on the free throw line, the tension in the gym absolutely suffocating. As Ami steps up, ready to take the most important shot of her life, Ami stares down the hoop, knowing this one shot could change the entire game, while her teammates brace for the rebound, unable to lose her now. Ami gives some last-minute instructions to his own players, and one of them thinks if they fail here, Ami dies, so no pressure. This whole court goes silent as Ami lines up the shot. And with a flick of her wrists, she sends the ball flying. It sails through the air in a perfect arc, as her team watches with a mix of hope and sheer terror, but the ball just clangs right off the rim, a miss. Instantly, it is a chaotic scramble for the rebound under the basket, which sends the bench into a state of pure, slack-jawed panic. Kasumi immediately yells for Ami to stay close to her, and he is already sprinting, sensing the danger. As the ball hangs in the air, he knows if they lose possession, Ami is done for. So Brandon leaps for it with Ami right on his tail, and the guy with glasses jumps too, trying to snatch it from the air, getting completely boxed out by Ami in the process. But somehow the kid with glasses actually comes down with the ball. Ami is genuinely shocked, calling his legs a double-edged sword. Is that a compliment? With Kasumi closing in fast, he yells that he is making the throw. But Amai is already on the guy with glasses who realizes Ami is his only target, and he is completely cornered, debating if a desperation shot is worth his life. Amai just swats the ball away like it is nothing, snagging the steal while the kid with glasses can only watch, defeated. Mihane immediately starts screaming at Kasumi to get under the goal, but Kasumi snaps back that Amai told her not to move. This team is a well-oiled machine. Amai glances around, seeing his entire team is basically a liability, while the guy with glasses is still panicking, terrified to shoot. Mihane gets the ball and immediately starts driving down the court, weaving through the chaos as she heads for the basket. This buff guy tries to block her, but she knows she has to take this shot, while Kasumi just stands there completely zoned out under the hoop. This ball goes flying towards the net, and Kasumi just watches it sail by, not even flinching for the rebound. Am I Ever the Hero announces he has got this one, but the rebound is heading right for Kasumi, who is in the perfect spot to catch it, and she just lets the ball drop right at her feet, then gives a panicked sorry, saying she had no orders to catch it. Wow. Mihane is absolutely losing her mind at this level of petty sabotage, and just like that, the ref holds up a card, player number 2 is dead. And just like that, Mihane is executed by 2 fencers, a fittingly dramatic end, who then immediately grab Amai, dragging him off the court as he screams. But even as she is taken, Mihane is still yelling that Kasumi is the one to blame, and with a final scream of terror, she is gone. Amai immediately confronts Kasumi, who plays dumb, claiming she was just following orders, while over on the bench, Sora and his teammate are just stunned by the brutality. With Sora recalling how Class 1 all survived their last game together, and the creepy announcer chimes in that it is time for a substitute player. A new girl, Chihya, is subbed in, and some guy is already getting weirdly close, telling her to survive so they can go on a date. Priorities, man. Brandon's team sizes her up, with the buff guy doubting her athletic ability, while Amai's fan club is already getting jealous, warning her not to use her pro-athlete brother to get his attention. But Chihya just stands there completely unfazed by the drama, then turns to them saying she can contribute way more than they ever could. This sends Brandon's team into another argument about why she was not playing earlier, as Chihya just ties her hair back, confidently saying she could take them all on, which earns her a death glare from a fan club girl muttering about arrogant players. Ami tries to give the guy with glasses, Hayato, a pep talk, telling him to shoot hard so she can grab the rebound if he misses, but he is completely frozen with fear, saying he is too guarded to even try. With the game back on, Hayato starts dribbling down the court, but the new girl, Chihya, is on him in a flash, swiping for the ball, and she easily overpowers him, reaching down to take it, except her hand makes contact and the ball gets all slimy and weird. Chihya is completely stunned, having no idea what just happened. While Hayato stares down, equally confused by the pulsating orb, they are both just holding this living, breathing, gooey basketball now. Then our creepy announcer pops up, gleefully explaining that the ball is alive. Turns out it is a living mood ring for teamwork, expressing emotions during play, and right now it is literally weeping over the betrayal of shallow friendship. Brutal. Chihya's only reaction is a disgusted gross, which is honestly fair. But something in Hayato just clicks, his eyes hardening with sudden resolve, and he just launches a prayer from way downtown, a total desperation heave. This shot soars through the air, heading straight for the basket, and it is nothing but net, a perfect swish for 3 points. His entire team erupts, screaming that they can actually win this thing, with one of the guys grabbing a teammate in a massive victory hug, which immediately becomes super awkward as they both pull away blushing. Ami is losing her mind, screaming Hayato's name in disbelief. As Brandon points to the scoreboard, a 3-pointer can flip the entire game. Chihir is still grossed out by the slimy ball as Amai asks if the shot even counted, and he gets uncomfortably close, telling her not to tarnish his reputation, a totally normal pep talk. So Amai takes possession, dribbling down the court as everyone scrambles into position, thinking it is an easy shot from this spot as 2 defenders jump to stop him. But Chihir's hands fly up, trying desperately to block the shot and just missing, and it turns out to be a pass which she catches cleanly under the basket, immediately driving to the hoop while Hayato can only watch, knowing this is bad, and in a flash she is airborne, lining up the easy layup. It is nothing but net, earning a triumphant yes from Amai, who is immediately praising Chihya, acting like he is the world's best coach. Then he gets a little handsy, complaining about how tired he is, poor baby, which sends his fan club into a jealous rage, screaming absolute nonsense at Chihya, and their rage pivots to some poor blonde girl on the other team who is just trying to exist, who is now so rattled she cannot even dribble the ball properly. As a look at the scoreboard reveals the stakes, 1 more point and a sub dies. So with that grim motivation, she starts her drive down the court. But Chihya is on her instantly, ready to shut her down. And as Chihya reaches for the steal, the blonde player is sure she is about to lose possession, except her foot lands right in a puddle of that weird ball goo, causing her to slip. And that little slip sends her tumbling right to the court floor. That goo sends the ball flying loose as the blonde player slips, sending her into a full-on aerial tumble, totally out of control. Amai's fan club is in disbelief. The goal is completely undefended, so one of Kasumi's teammates immediately bolts down the court, and with a desperate lunge she tries to stop the other girl from colliding, resulting in a full-on midair collision, just a mess of flailing limbs. Meanwhile, the slimy ball just bounces away, completely abandoned for the moment, as the purple-haired girl on the floor screams for Kasumi to pass, but Kasumi just freezes, looking like she has no idea what to do. With both players still on the ground, the blonde girl vows to stop the play, which finally gets Kasumi moving, her fear of death kicking in. Overcoming her terror, she launches the ball, desperate to avoid execution. And it is a clean shot, sinking right through the hoop as everyone watches. His fan club is absolutely stunned, the other team actually scored. Our creepy announcer celebrates the point with a triumphant fist pump, but then calls a foul on the collision, invalidating the basket entirely. Now it is a free throw, and Brandon tells Hayato to stay calm, promising a rebound. So the blonde girl who fell steps up to the line looking focused. With everything on the line, she declares she absolutely has to make this shot, planting her feet at the line, ready for the throw. Ami steps to the line, perfect form, ready for the clutch free throw. But the shot just clangs off the rim, a brutal miss as Brandon yells in frustration. This ball hangs in the air for a split second, then drops right through the net anyway, a total miracle shot. Ami looks absolutely stunned with relief, having pulled it off. Her team is losing it, Hayato celebrating like they just won the championship. They are all pointing at the scoreboard, convinced a comeback is possible. On the other side of the court, though, the mood is less cheerful. One of Ami's fan club girls gets right in Chihia's face, blaming her for the foul. Chihia snaps back that the girl slipped on her own slime, so maybe calm down. This fangirl's only response is to tell her to go be a seal, a truly next-level insult. Meanwhile, Brandon's team huddles, revealing his next shot could change everyone's player number. And Brandon just gives this smug little smirk like it is already in the bag. This game's back on with Chihia dribbling, but Brandon's already calling for a steal. She is immediately trapped by the buff guy who is basically a human wall, so she makes a pass, directly to Brandon on the opposing team. Her own teammates are screaming in disbelief, asking what on earth she is doing. Brandon is absolutely furious, realizing he has been played somehow. He just chucks the ball away in a blind rage, not even looking at the basket. And it sails right into the hands of another girl on Ami's team who is just as confused as everyone else. Brandon's teammate is screaming at him for his little tantrum, but Kasumi has the ball, booking it down the court with total focus, and she winds up for the shot, ready to be the hero, except the ball suddenly feels wrong in her hands, and now it is literally steaming hot because of course it is. She still launches the shot, hoping for a rebound if it misses. But it just clanks right off the rim, a total brick. Ami just stands there watching the failure unfold with zero emotion, as the glowing hot potato of a ball just bounces away. Kasumi is completely frozen, realizing she just blew their chance, and Ami gives her a smug grin, saying he does not want to get burned by her failure. What a supportive teammate. This announcer pops up to call her play pathetic, blaming her for dragging everyone down. Then he gets weirdly intimate with the ball, saying it must be furious too. He whips out a red card and points, "Number 4 is officially dead." This fencers immediately grab a screaming Kasumi who cannot believe this is happening, while Ami lectures her about betraying the team, what a prince, then leans in with a smile and tells her to just die quietly. Even one of her own teammates calls her an enemy as she is being taken, with Ami adding that her only contribution was getting executed, savage. This announcer hypes up a new addition as the fencers bag up the body. This scoreboard updates to 7-4 and Ami is just losing her mind with joy. And just like that, the new player arrives, a bubbly girl in a 7 jersey, who immediately latches onto Ami, who could not look more bored, telling her to just grab rebounds. While over on the other side, Brandon confirms the ball is no longer a hot, slimy mess, just hot. So he tosses it to his buff teammate, who promises this time will be different. And the big guy starts barreling down the court as everyone scrambles into position, with the girl in glasses relieved to see the ball is not a slimy hazard anymore, so she immediately goes for the steal, trying to stop his drive, and she is absolutely determined to get it, but he is not giving it up, except she actually manages to rip it right out of his hands, a clean steal, which sends him into such a rage he literally turns into a demon, terrifying her, leaving the poor girl just trembling on the floor, completely rattled. And he is back to normal, smugly calling it a piece of cake, what a guy. But while he is busy gloating, another player swoops in to take it, and it is the new girl, looking way less bubbly and way more sinister as she takes possession, who immediately bolts past the stunned buff guy, then launches herself into this wild, upside-down flip shot. What is even happening? As the ball sails through the air with Ami and Brandon watching in disbelief, and the shot is perfectly lined up, heading straight for the basket, and it is a perfect swish, nothing but net for the score. This new girl gives a totally psychotic grin, asking if Ami saw her graceful shot, and with that point the system announces another substitute is officially dead, which we then get to see in graphic detail as some poor kid gets vaporized, leaving the rest of his team just standing there in total shock and horror. Ami immediately starts praising his new star player Emma-chan, who acts all modest. As the announcer explains the new rule, a 3-pointer lets you swap an enemy player, and Ami immediately picks Ami because of course he is going after her. But the announcer starts analyzing everyone's physical stats like a creep, then points to the green-haired guy Sora, deciding to switch him out instead. His teammate tells him not to be reckless, but Sora insists he knows how to play. And Hayato is not happy, saying Sora cannot just replace Ami like that. But he has a plan. It is tough to win normally, but if they can just score twice. This next score will be multiplied by 5, giving them a shot at a comeback. So the strategy is simple, play it safe and do not do anything stupid. This game's back on with Brandon dribbling down the court, Emma hot on his heels. And he goes up for the shot, but she is right in his face trying for the block. He just barrels right through her, sending her flying to the floor. And she immediately starts screaming for the referee to call a foul. But Hayato just coldly tells her there was no contact and to get up. While Brandon looms over the pileup, promising to crush them all. Brandon soars through the air for the dunk, slamming it home with absolute authority. His whole team is going wild, celebrating the power play. But Sora's already eyeing the score, vowing to save someone. This game restarts with Chihaya facing off against the buff guy again, who she is clearly not a fan of. Trapped, she looks for any open teammate to pass to, launching a high pass over the big guy's head, which lands right in Sora's hands, but he is immediately swarmed. He fumbles under pressure, the ball flying loose as a teammate screams for Emma, and that loose ball takes a perfect bounce down the court, leaving Sora wide open under the basket, ready for the easy score. He goes up for the shot, totally uncontested, until Emma appears out of nowhere with a psycho grin, crashing right into him with a brutal midair tackle. Both of them go down in a heap, a total mess on the floor, and Emma's already complaining about the foul call, so much for graceful. Sora's clearly hurt while a new girl asks if he is okay. She announces she is taking the inbound pass, just as the ball starts glowing again. Sora rushes over to Ami asking what is wrong, and she explains she's been injured since that last brutal foul. Ami says she will try to fake it, telling them to handle the rest, so helpful. Hayato just accepts it, telling everyone to get in position, no time for feelings. So now Sora's at the line with the glowing ball ready for the free throw, and he is psyching himself up, determined to sink this for the team. This shot goes up, a perfect glowing arc heading straight for the hoop. It is looking clean, about to drop right through the net, and it is a perfect swish, nothing but net for the point. Sora is absolutely losing his mind, celebrating the clutch shot, as his teammates watch the score flip to 9-8 in their favor. On the other side, though, a girl is screaming that she does not want to die. And just like that, number 6 gets completely vaporized in a pink flash. Her teammates just stand there in shock, watching another player get deleted. One of the survivors immediately gets in her teammate's face, asking if he gets it now, because their next score is suddenly worth 5 times the points. Back on the winning side, Sora gets a well-deserved high five for his play, explaining his plan is to score again before the enemy's numbers match. This team huddles, realizing a three-pointer would end the game right here. But the other team is digging in, vowing not to let them get a single shot off. This game is back on, and Sora immediately dives for a steal, but Brandon is not having it, looking absolutely enraged. And it is actually Chihaya who snags the ball, calling herself lucky. Brandon immediately tries to rip it back as the ball starts glowing ominously again, but he just overpowers her, ready to make a play while Sora begs him to stop. Ignoring everyone, Brandon just launches the glowing ball for a three-pointer. And Sora cannot even watch, knowing this is a monumentally stupid idea. This shot arcs perfectly toward the hoop, looking like it might actually work. While the other team just stands there, pointing out the obvious, the ball is acting weird again, except it just clanks off the rim and falls straight down, a total brick. They look up at the scoreboard, which is now flipped to 12-9 in the enemy's favor, and Sora is just basking in the glory, claiming even fortune is on his side now. His own teammates are absolutely baffled, asking what the hell he was thinking, because that missed shot just gave the other team the 5x point bonus. What a genius. Chihaya then points out that since it was a 3-point attempt, they also get to make a substitution. She stands there, pondering who to swap out for maximum chaos, while Ami's team watches from the sidelines, looking absolutely terrified. Ami in particular looks like she is about to have a full-blown panic attack. And Chihaya just gives this perfectly evil, smug little grin, because she knows exactly who she is picking, and Ami is already falling apart. Chihaya immediately calls out Ami's supposed injury, knowing she cannot pass or shoot, and the announcer makes it official, ordering number 2 onto the court, leaving her teammates just staring in disbelief as she is forced to play. And as Ami walks on, they are all panicking about what to do now. Sora tells her not to push herself, playing along with the injury charade, so the game restarts with a simple inbound pass, which Ami actually catches without any issue, prompting her blue-haired teammate to ask if she can even handle that much. She grips the ball, looking like she is about to make a play, and then immediately drops it, screaming in pain. The Oscar goes to Ami, forcing her teammate to scramble and recover the fumble. Ami clutches her arm, wailing about how she is totally useless now, and with the announcer rushing them, the blue-haired guy is stuck holding the ball, while she kneels on the floor apologizing for her terrible performance. This other team is absolutely loving this, announcing the start of their 3-on-2 fun game, and all 3 of them immediately swarm the poor guy with the ball, leaving him completely trapped with no one to pass to. As Ami watches from the sidelines, already planning the game-ending 3-pointer, this blue-haired player tries to force a shot through the defense, but another opponent comes flying in for a brutal midair tackle. This is not going well. This blue-haired guy is totally boxed in, knowing he is about to lose the ball, but he plants his feet, readying a desperate move, and in a do-or-die moment, he just hurls the ball up. 2 defenders are right in his face, trying to swat it down. But it is not a shot, it is a pass flying across the court, landing right in Sora's hands, who is told to give it to Ami. Sora is completely baffled because is not she supposed to be injured. Across the court, Ami stands there, glowing and looking perfectly fine. Her eyes practically on fire, so much for that terrible injury. A perfect pass flies straight to her, catching the other team off guard, and her opponents scramble in a panic, realizing they have been played. She gives a silent apology to a fallen teammate, getting focused, then vows to absolutely sink this shot no matter what. Up she goes for the three, a defender leaping to stop her, and that ball sails through the air in a perfect glowing arc, heading straight for the net, looking like a guaranteed game winner. Everyone on the court just stares, watching fate unfold from below, and it is a perfect swish, nothing but net for the three-pointer. This shot drops clean, sealing the deal in the final seconds. As the scoreboard flips to 23-12, an absolutely insane comeback victory. This faceless announcer makes it official, Class 4 wins, game over. Ami is absolutely beaming, just so relieved they actually pulled it off. Her whole team erupts in a massive group hug, a total victory party on the court. A teammate finally asks if the injury was fake, and Ami's just like, yeah, sorry about that. This guy is still processing, asking how Hayato knew it was all an act. Turns out Hayato got the inside scoop from a girl named Erika. Ami explains it was the only way she could get back on the court to fight. She just wanted to live and help her team, so she used it, whatever it is. At that moment, a red whip cracks through the gym with a sickening sound, leaving the entire team completely stunned, wondering what that was. Then a pair of dress shoes steps onto the court, which is never a good sign. A man in a suit kneels before a new, psycho-looking commander, reporting the explosion experiment is complete. This commander, who looks totally stable, says she wants to check the device too. Inside the briefcase is a timer hooked up to 4 blocks. Yep, that is a bomb. Looking completely unglued, she gets ready to make an announcement to the class. She dangles a set of golden scales over the students, asking if they know what it is. Brandon is absolutely losing it, thinking she is mocking them with some kind of game. She just laughs maniacally, giving a basic science lesson. A scale shows what is heavier, geniuses. Even Hayato is confused, asking her what the hell she is talking about. She explains that in this friendship culling project, they are here to weigh the things you cannot see. She says they are gonna weigh invisible things on the scale, and Chihia's like, what are you gonna measure? Air? Fair question. Nope, even better, she is here to compare the weight of their lives. This commander explains they will be split into 2 groups, the measurers and the measured, who are literally just the weights. She then leads them off to some wonderful facilities. She is prepared, and Hayato is already so done with this entire situation. He grabs Sora, trying to get him focused for whatever's next, reminding him they barely survived that last game. This team huddles up, vowing to stick together and make it through, and Hayato gives a final determined right to fire them up. Their psycho host leads them to a room with some very ominous-looking glass pods, which are, yep, giant human-sized containment tubes. One of the girls immediately asks what the water tank is for, and the commander gleefully explains it is reinforced to stop a tank shell. Hayato demands to know why that is even necessary, which is apparently to keep the valuable people safe from the worthless ones. Yikes. She lays out the rules. The next game is played 3 at a time. 2 players get locked in the tanks as code holders, while the third has 3 minutes to cut one of their codes. Sora asks the million-dollar question, what happens when a code is cut? Oh, just a stick of dynamite under each person's pod, no big deal. In other words, the chosen person gets completely vaporized. Fun. Chihiro realizes the obvious, one of them is absolutely going to die. This commander adds a sick twist, only you know your own code color. And the 2 in the tanks cannot talk, only plead with the cutter, so they can either be a noble martyr or lie their face off to survive. She tells the cutter to listen to their pleas and then pick who lives. Holding up a box cutter with a truly unhinged look in her eyes, and she points right at Chihia, making her judge, jury, and executioner. With a flourish, the commander announces the 2 lives on the chopping block, and it is our boy Sora and a girl named Shiho Shimizu. They just grip each other's hands, absolutely terrified, asking why this has to happen to them. Our psycho host just grins, ready to start the show on her phone, explaining the scale has special features for this whole culling project. She then orders the 2 of them into the tanks immediately, and they share one last look of pure dread before Sora steps up onto the platform and gets sealed inside the glass pod, totally trapped. Chihia gets shoved into a tiny booth, the official code box, and is reminded that only the 2 in the tanks know their own colors. As her face flashes up on a monitor, she is the designated cutter. This rest of the team can only watch from the sidelines, completely helpless, while Sora and Shiho are secretly told what their code colors are. A 3-minute timer appears right over Chihia's head and the countdown begins, with the psycho host adding a fun little rule: if it hits 0, they all die. She then kicks off the bomb time with a truly unhinged smile, and with the clock already ticking down, Chihia has to decide who survives. This whole situation feels impossible, flashing back to a memory of them smiling. So Sora starts banging on the glass, desperately calling out to her. He gives her a wild look, screaming at her to cut the red wire, which leaves Chihia completely stunned as the timer hits 2:48. Her eyes dart around, trying to make sense of his plea, before she turns her attention to Shiho in the other tank. Shiho is also pleading for her life, telling her to cut the red one too. And Chihia's brain just short-circuits, because how can they both be red? One of their teammates is also losing it, asking what is going on. But the blonde guy just gives a smug grin like this is all going to plan. This truth finally dawns on them: one of them is lying to get the other one killed. Ami is losing her mind, screaming that this cannot be right because she knows that Sora and Shiho are close friends, but the blonde guy just smirks, saying everyone's selfish in the end. From inside the tanks, both Sora and Shiho are yelling to cut the red wire, which means one of them is absolutely lying to save their own skin. Ami flashes back to them all laughing, a brutal reminder with the clock ticking down, and Hayato can only watch her break down on the monitor, completely helpless. This weight of the choice is just crushing her, tears streaming down her face. But with seconds left, she wipes her eyes and makes a decision. Her hand moves with the cutter, going straight for the blue wire, figuring she cannot trust either of their pleas, but she thinks she knows who is trying to manipulate her into killing the other. A red light immediately starts glowing under one of the pods. The code is cut. It is Sora's pod, and a voice announces the measurement is complete. He just looks down with this calm, knowing little smile, then thanks Ami, saying now Shiho gets to live. His teammate is absolutely floored, pointing at the screen in disbelief. While the blonde guy explains Sora's galaxy brain play, he knew Shiho would try to sacrifice herself, so he lied, forcing Ami to cut blue to save Shiho instead. Ami just runs from the booth in pure terror as the explosion is about to go off. Ami screams his name as the explosion imminent warning flashes over the pods, but Sora just smiles, saying his lie makes them even for her fake injury. What a brutal callback. Shiho is absolutely losing it in her tank, just watching in pure horror, and she and Sora share one last, heartbreaking goodbye through the glass. He tells her to live for his share too, giving a final thumbs up and telling his friends he loves them, and then his pod is just engulfed in a massive explosion. Shiho can only scream his name, completely shattered by what she just saw. Hayato gets hit by the blast's aftermath as a voice announces automatic cleaning, which is just a polite way of saying they're power washing Sora's remains off the glass. This pod is left sparkling clean, door opening as if nothing ever happened. A traumatized Shiho finally stumbles out of her own tank, and Ami immediately rushes over to hold her up. But there is no time to grieve, the next two code holders are already being chosen. This psycho commander points right at Hayato, naming him the next cutter, holding up the box cutter with that same unhinged smile. And Hayato is just frozen, realizing he is the one who has to choose now. Two more students are ordered to step up to the tanks, and a teammate points out that one of them is Brandon. Brandon just looks back, completely confused, with no idea what is coming. Ami gives a chipper smile, saying Brandon will be fine, which is never a good sign, and Brandon immediately demands to know what she is talking about. Her expression shifts as she admits everyone has always helped her. Remembering how they all had her back, saying she'd be dead otherwise, she gives Brandon a pep talk, telling him to survive and protect everyone, and he just looks up, seemingly ready for whatever's next. This scene then cuts to Hayato, lost in a memory of his own, getting cornered by a bully who is taunting him with his book. This jerk then throws the book down right in front of him, letting it smack against the tiled floor. He then accidentally steps on it. What a tool. But Ami casually strolls into the hallway, asking to join in. She tells the bullies they are playing with Hayato, putting them on notice, just as a classroom door slides open with a bang. With a smirk, Ami invites the teacher to join their little game, who is obviously not thrilled about the commotion. Her intervention sends the bullies running with some lame apologies, leaving Hayato to just stare at the girl who defended him. She just stretches, calling the whole thing boring now that the fun's over. Back in the present, Hayato realizes with a jolt that Ami saved him too. Our psycho host is back, grinning like a shark as she preps round two, and the two new contestants, Brandon and a guy named Nehiko, get their colors, putting Hayato in the cutter's seat with a fresh 3-minute timer. With a flourish, the commander kicks off another round of bomb time. And Hayato immediately starts freaking out, asking Nehiko why he is acting like a martyr. But Nehiko just smiles, saying his school life was pretty much crap, explaining he was a total loner who could not make any friends, but he was so happy when he finally found people to connect with. He tells a panicked Hayato to chill out and not make such a grim face, saying this is not like the werewolf game, so there is no need to be suspicious. Then just flat out says his code is red and to cut it without thinking. This just makes Hayato spiral, realizing he absolutely has to kill one of them, holding the cutter with a hand that does not want to move, and he is completely frozen as the clock ticks down, totally lost. His attention shifts to the other pod where Brandon is just sitting, completely silent, not pleading, not saying a single word. Nehiko then reveals he was with Hayato during the werewolf game, claiming he only survived thanks to him and now wants to be a hero too. So he begs Hayato to cut his code, holding the cutter to his own throat, leaving Hayato staring at the red wire, considering this guy's death wish. Hayato's hand tightens on the cutter, flatly rejecting the martyr act, because his brain clicks this is not about following orders, it is something way darker. Just like the psycho host said, this is about weighing lives. And that twisted logic is exactly like that psycho Makuzuka's. With only 55 seconds left, he knows an action kills them both. So he stares down the blade, hardening his resolve to make the call. His mind races, weighing who is more useful for future games, like Nehiko the wildcard or Brandon, the guy who seems way more trustworthy and stable. This cutter reflects both of their faces, a literal life or death choice. And with the clock at 32 seconds, Hayato finally makes his decision. He apologizes to Brandon, moving the cutter straight for the blue wire, and a red light immediately flares under Brandon's pod, announcing the code is cut. But it is Nehiko who is absolutely stunned, not understanding what just happened, and he starts banging on the glass, looking at Hayato in total confusion. From the sidelines, Ami and Shiho can only watch in horror, while Brandon just flips the bird, demanding answers, a real team player. Nehiko is still screaming, completely losing it over Hayato's choice. But inside his pod, Brandon just facepalms, looking completely done with this. Then he cracks a sinister smile, calling Hayato naive, leaving Hayato staring as the timer hits 25 seconds totally lost. This system announces the round is over and suddenly everyone can hear again, which is perfect timing for Naohiko to absolutely lose his mind. Because Hayato's brain finally connects the dots, Naohiko was not red at all. Inside his own pod, Brandon is just dying of laughter, gloating that he was the red one the entire time. What a power move. Naohiko screams at him, demanding to know what he whispered to Hayato, but Brandon just yells back that he did not say a single thing. This martyr's whole world is collapsing as he tries to understand how he got played, while Hayato remembers Naohiko's praise, realizing it was all a setup. And we see Naohiko's true colors, a desperate liar who thinks everyone else is trash. Brandon just smirks, calling out his terrible, over-the-top acting. With a final flash, Naohiko's pod lights up for detonation, and the automatic cleaning announcement starts right on cue. This cutter drops to the floor, another round officially finished. Brandon casually steps out of his pod, enjoying that sweet, sweet victory air. A dazed Hayato stumbles back, still reeling from the mind game. He asks Brandon when he figured out Naohiko's act. And Brandon's answer is just legendary. He knew before they even got in the tanks. He remembers Naohiko's eyes having a weird gleam, a dead giveaway for a liar, then flicks open a lighter because of course this guy has a lighter. Brandon takes a drag, calling Naohiko's whole performance just terrible acting, and he correctly guesses the guy tried the whole "I will sacrifice myself" routine on Hayato. Getting right in Hayato's face, he says he already knew he could not kill someone like him. But Brandon's eyes are glowing with intensity, saying whatever the reason. Hayato will never forget that he still tried to kill him, a threat for life. Now standing over a fallen Hayato, he declares that is one big debt between them. Our boy is just spiraling, realizing he almost picked the guy who thought everyone else was trash. He watches Brandon walk away, the weight of that choice crashing down on him. His fist clenching in shame and anger, he really did try to kill him. Suddenly, Makuzuka is right there, asking if he fulfilled his role as the scale. Hayato clutches his head, the pressure of weighing lives becoming way too much, and an announcement calls Commander Makuzuka to the monitoring room, much to her annoyance. She just waves it off, announcing a brief break time for everyone. How generous. With a strut, she heads off down the hall, clearly pissed about being summoned, pulling out her phone with an absolutely unhinged look on her face. She is on the line, furious they are using the school broadcast to call for her. But a voice from HQ calmly explains that was a direct order, sorry not sorry. Gritting her shark teeth, she agrees to head over immediately, then turns a corner and nearly collides with a student carrying something, and the girl is terrified as Makuzuka just stares at the bowl, asking what it is. Makuzuka gets right in the student's face, asking who authorized this little delivery. And the poor girl stammers it is to keep the subjects healthy for the project. Our psycho commander is clearly not buying that load of crap for a second. She dismisses the girl, telling her to stop acting like she knows anything. This scene then cuts to a classroom where a group of girls are just hanging out, and one friend offers another a piece of her lunch from a bento box, which the blonde girl Mai happily accepts, a totally normal school moment. Except for Naohiko, the guy who just exploded, sitting all by himself. This flashback confirms his whole loner story, completely isolated from everyone else. Hayato's own memory kicks in with Shiho offering him a drink with a smile. But the memory twists into a nightmare, their eyes turning into black voids. This ghosts of his dead classmates are all looking down on him accusingly, their voices haunting him, asking if they really had no choice but to die. He is completely breaking down, clutching his head and just repeating, I am sorry. This ghost just keeps swarming him, a constant reminder of his failure. His own mind screams back that he did not want to die either, pure survivor's guilt. On his knees, he just keeps apologizing, trapped in the past. And a voice even calls his name, twisting the knife deeper as he spirals. He snaps out of it to find Shiho shaking him, asking if he is okay. But our boy is still on the floor, totally lost in the trauma of it all. An announcement crackles over the PA system, summoning everyone to Class 20, and our survivors shuffle down the hall looking totally exhausted from the last game. At the classroom door, a mysterious figure in a white coat is waiting for them, who turns to reveal a glowing zero on his head and some seriously unhinged eyes. This group is immediately on edge, wondering how this new guy has the contacts. But they step inside anyway because what other choice do they have? And Hayato's eyes light up as the lenses activate, hijacking his vision. This entire room glitches into digital static, completely disorienting them, only to reform into a morgue because this school just keeps getting better. An anatomical dummy stands there just to complete the whole welcome to hell vibe. A new announcement explains this charming location is a virtual space, which does not stop Brandon from wondering what the deal is with the white-haired weirdo. Elsewhere in a control room, some staff are watching a monitor, totally baffled by their boss, with one guy complaining that the game seems to have a fatal design flaw. This director just sits there, looking like he's got the world's worst headache. One of his subordinates begs him to make a decision, saying they cannot let this continue. While another adds that Makuzuka is unforgivable from a humanitarian standpoint, you do not say. This whole team gangs up, demanding he strip Makuzuka of command immediately, but the director hesitates, worried about what a fired psycho might do for revenge. He asks what Makuzuka planned for the next class, getting a chilling answer, 2 people in the morgue. This director drops a bombshell, Makuzuka is now a test subject. And she absolutely loses it, demanding to know what he means. A staffer explains they need data from an excellent commander, just buttering her up. Because another staffer points out Hayato was their optimal solution for surviving so long. Makuzuka scoffs, calling the kid a fragile sugar cube, not some perfect specimen. Through all this, the director just steeples his fingers, letting the chaos unfold. He then challenges her to prove she is the real optimal solution, holding up a vial. Tossing it over as he suspends her command until she wins the next game, a total demotion. This is an order from HQ, so there is absolutely no room to argue. This smarmy new guy pats her on the shoulder, wishing her the best of luck, so patronizing. He even whispers former commander in her ear just to twist the knife. With his own eye glowing, he announces he is joining the game class 2. Makuzuka, now a player, fans out some cards and declares her opponent is Hayato. Our boy, meanwhile, has no idea he has just been put on a psycho's hit list. Ami gets close, whispering that this is her chance to get revenge for Sora. This group stands together for a moment before the players are separated from the others. Brandon sits down, figuring he is just a spectator for this round. They are all staring up at a giant blank screen, totally confused about what is happening, until a new rule pops up: the non-players can act as supporters. And Brandon realizes he is not on the sidelines after all, he has got a role to play. Ami asks the obvious question: who in their right mind would support Makuzuka? Suddenly, a bright light flashes in the middle of the room, and those 3 staffers from the control room appear, volunteering for the job. Ami immediately recognizes one of them as the woman who gave her a drink earlier, but they are warned that joining this game means their lives are on the line. While a wolf mascot says they feel responsible for not stopping their psycho boss sooner. With grim determination, the 3 of them officially agree to participate. So now the teams are set, with Makuzuka and her 3 new minions facing our survivors. This rules drop. Supporters are assigned special cards linked directly to their player's life, with more cards unlocking as needed and death conditions explained later, super helpful. These supporters are horrified, realizing the players literally hold their lives in their hands, which sends Brandon into a rage, screaming for them to stop messing around. He's not about to trust his life to Hayato, the guy who just tried to kill him, fair point, and Hayato just crumbles, admitting he cannot handle being responsible for anyone's life again. His trauma kicks in hard, flashing back to his dead friends as he insists he just cannot do it. This whole group just stares at the giant blank screen, waiting for what is next, until the release conditions finally pop up for everyone to see. For Hayato's team, if they achieve special card conditions, they are free to go, but it all hinges on the player's victory, putting all the pressure right back on our boy. Makuzuka's team, however, gets promotions and she gets reinstated as commander. The stakes are set. Ami whispers to Hayato that this is their chance to escape, while Brandon just scoffs, wondering if they are finally catching on to the danger, and their other friend declares they will just beat Makuzuka and all survive together. Hayato, however, just lets out a quiet, unsettling laugh. He's got this manic grin, saying with an opponent like her, they might actually lose, and covering his face, he adds that everyone might die, which is not the pep talk they needed. So Ami just hauls off and slaps him right across the face, screaming at him, asking if he has any remorse for the friends they lost. She grabs him by the collar, reminding him they only survived by sacrificing others, then twists the knife by asking if his sister is not waiting for him. This whole group is just standing there in the creepy virtual morgue, and a system alert pops up announcing the game for 2 is about to begin. Suddenly, Hayato shoves Ami away from him, his expression now one of cold, hard determination. He flashes back to a simple meal with his sister, a time when life was normal, a life that was completely destroyed the moment Makuzuka showed up. Makuzuka, meanwhile, is ready to play, planning to win fast and get her command back. But Hayato's resolve hardens, he is the one who is going to make it back. She fans out the cards with a terrifying grin, seeing him as her ticket to victory. And the game is finally explained, a battle of trust and doubt to score points. This new white-haired weirdo kicks things off. Players draw 1 card per turn, laying out a deck of 25 cards, 20 of which are gold coin cards, and the remaining 5 are something a whole lot less friendly. They are called corpse cards, which he reveals with a totally unhinged grin. Hayato's eyes widen, completely floored by this new twist. A hologram explains the gameplay. You draw a card, then declare what it is. But here is the catch: you can totally lie your ass off. Your opponent then has to decide whether to trust or doubt your claim. Based on that choice, someone scores, and Hayato is already calculating the odds. This game gives a little tutorial. Say you draw a gold coin and tell the truth, and if your opponent trusts your honesty, they get the point for being a good judge of character. Doubting you when you are honest, however, gets you the point for their paranoia. Now for the fun part: what happens when you are a dirty, dirty liar? If you lie and your opponent trusts you, you get the point for being a convincing snake. Calling your bluff correctly, on the other hand, scores them the point instead. Hayato gets it now. It is a game of pure psychological warfare, zero trust involved. Then the game master moves on to the corpse cards as a morgue drawer ominously opens. Another scenario pops up. You draw a corpse, lie it as a coin, and they trust you. This camera pans over to that creepy anatomical dummy just waiting for its moment, and a hand starts pushing its way out of a morgue locker. Oh, this is gonna be bad. This penalty for getting a corpse card wrong is this horrifying, soul-sucking vision. And if they trust your lie, you steal all their points, a total wipeout. But what if you lie about a corpse card and they call your bluff? Then they get all of your points instead. The stakes are absolutely insane. Now, what if you are honest about drawing a corpse but they doubt you anyway? You get all their points because paranoia is just as punishable as gullibility. So yeah, how you play these corpse cards is literally everything. Brandon immediately pegs the white-haired weirdo as the sicko who designed this mess, and their other friend demands to know how the hell supporters are supposed to help. This whole room is just tense with the players and supporters separated. Until Ami hears a strange noise from the side of the room, and a hand reaches out from behind a partition. It is that creepy anatomical dummy now taking a casual stroll. This game master explains you unlock special cards by gripping the dummy's hand, and since there is no fingerprint sensor, supporters can do it for their player. Once you grab on, though, the card use is locked and no take-backs. Makuzuka's team gets a look in, as it is revealed each supporter gets one of 3 card types. First up is Double Up, which doubles the points you win that turn. Then there is Shield, which blocks your opponent from stealing your points, and finally, Reversal, a comeback card for when you are losing big. This rules also clarify you get 1 supporter card per turn and no do-overs. And our referee is the skinless dummy telling everyone to work together, so inspiring. This white-haired psycho officially kicks off the class facing down Hayato. It is a 10-turn game with players drawing cards one after another, and you are absolutely forbidden from showing your opponent what you drew. First up, the dummy decides who goes first because why not have a mannequin run the show? It tells Hayato to call a coin flip, holding a coin up to its creepy, unblinking eye. Hayato just calmly calls tails. As the coin soars through the air, both players watch intently, and it lands on tails. Looks like our boy is up first. Hayato reaches for the deck, ready to make his first move. He draws a gold coin, thinking he will play it safe and secure an easy point. His logic is sound, the odds of a corpse card are low, and claiming it now is way too risky. So he looks his opponent dead in the eye and declares he drew a gold coin. But the new guy's already thinking ahead, realizing there is no point transfer for a corpse on turn 1, making it a freebie. A screen pops up demanding he choose to either trust or doubt Hayato's claim. With a grin that could curdle milk, he says of course he trusts him. Suddenly, one of the morgue lockers begins to glow ominously, and a giant number 1 flashes on the door, signaling a point has been scored. This white-haired weirdo just laughs, now leading 1-0, and the mind games have begun. Makuzuka's supporter immediately clocks the white-haired guy as the game designer, and a formidable one at that. He explains his logic. A corpse card on turn 1 is a freebie with no points to steal anyway. Now it is his turn, and with a grin that is all teeth, he declares he drew a gold coin. Hayato faces the screen, forced to choose between trusting this psycho or calling his bluff. His mind races, weighing the odds of a corpse card versus a simple coin. After a moment, he makes his call, telling the game master he trusts him. And just like before, one of the morgue lockers starts to glow. A giant number 1 flashes on the door. Hayato guessed right, tying the score. Ami celebrates in the background, totally hyped that they are now 1-1. As turn 2 ends, the system announces the double-up card is now unlocked for certain supporters. For Makuzuka's team, it is a simple power-up that doubles their score for the turn, but for Hayato's team, there is a teeny tiny catch to using it. If you use the card and fail to score, the supporter who activated it dies. This game just puts it out there plainly, in case anyone forgot they signed up for a death match. On the main screen, the specific conditions for double-up appear for our survivors. It is simple: score and the supporter is released, fail and they are executed, no pressure. Hayato realizes with dawning horror that Ami's life is now directly tied to his next move. Ami, with way too much faith, tells him to use her life if he thinks he can win. This weight of that responsibility just crashes down on him. One wrong call and she is gone, and our boy is absolutely sweating bullets, feeling the weight of it all. Ami realizes supporters are trapped unless the special cards get used, and Hayato is haunted by a vision of her begging him to save her from this hell. His fist clenches with grim determination because he knows he has no choice but to risk it all. It is turn 3 and our boy draws his next card. Pulling a gold coin, but he is already thinking about the mid-game. So he looks Makuzuka in the eye and declares he drew a coin, and she just grins, saying she trusts him completely. A point scores for her, putting Makuzuka in the lead 2-1. Now it is her turn and she draws from the deck, holding the card close as Hayato tries to get a read on her. She claims it is a gold coin with a look that is anything but trustworthy, followed by a grin that is all teeth and pure malice. Hayato notes her behavior is the same as always, completely unhinged. Playing the odds, he tells the system he trusts her, and her smile widens into something absolutely terrifying. Oh no. His logic was to play it safe for a single point, but a morgue locker suddenly starts glowing with a blinding light, which then shifts to a sinister, ominous purple, and a horrifying corpse figure bursts out. He fell for it completely. Hayato gets blasted with that horrifying corpse penalty vision. And he is absolutely furious that he fell for her bluff. Makuzuka just cackles, stealing his point and bringing the score to 3-0. It is turn 5 and our boy knows he needs a comeback and fast. He draws a gold coin but decides playing it safe is for chumps, so he looks her dead in the eye and claims he drew a corpse card. Makuzuka immediately calls his bluff, doubting him without a second thought. And just like that, she scores again, taunting him as the score hits 4-0. His friends are losing their minds in the gallery. This is a total beatdown. Now it is turn 6 and Makuzuka draws her card with that same terrifying smile. She pulls the exact same move, declaring she drew a corpse. Hayato's now staring down the barrel of that same nightmare penalty. He is trying to calculate the odds. Is she telling the truth this time? With 4 corpses still in the deck, it is a terrifyingly real possibility. This pressure is immense with only 4 turns left to turn this around. But then he gets it, her whole plan is to bait him into trusting her. A beam of light zaps his head and he breathes a sigh of relief that was close. As turn 6 ends, the shield card becomes available for supporters. This new card protects a player's points from being stolen for a turn. But if you score while using it, your supporter dies, because of course they do. Makuzuka's supporter explains their shield card has a different catch. If she fails, he is free. Then gets right in the other supporter's face about some kind of past debt, leaving Hayato's friend to grapple with the weight of having another life on his hands, and his fist clenches, haunted by a previous misjudgment. It is turn 7 and Makuzuka draws her card with that same terrifying grin, as her team immediately announces they are using the shield card. And she just lets out a bored sigh, completely unfazed by the stakes. She taunts Hayato, telling him to hurry up and make his move already, which makes Hayato's supporter snap, reminding her that if she scores, her own teammate dies. But she just calls it a break turn since her score cannot go down anyway. Hayato absolutely loses it, screaming at her for being so heartless, while she lectures him that supporters are just pieces meant to serve the player. And if you get distracted by their noise, you will lose everything. What a great leader. Hayato fires back that he has no intention of treating his teammates like pawns, then draws his card and declares it as a corpse. This system scans the card and Makuzuka sees he is actually telling the truth, but that absolutely terrifying smile never leaves her face, and she looks him dead in the eye and says, "I doubt you." One of Hayato's supporters is completely horrified by this turn of events. As a morgue locker begins to glow with that sinister purple light, oh, this is bad. Makuzuka's supporter gets zapped by the system, looks like his break is over. And just as the rules promised, he is executed because she scored a point. Makuzuka then has the nerve to lecture Hayato on the obvious pattern he just fell for. She even twists the knife, saying her supporter would be alive if Hayato had not played the corpse card. Then she calls him a hypocrite for his whole speech on protecting teammates, but Hayato's resolve only hardens, remembering his duty to his friends. Absolutely furious, he decides to go all in, activating the double-up card. Ami puts on a brave face, betting her life on him without a second thought. It is turn 8 and Makuzuka is up to make her move. And with that same unhinged grin, she declares she drew a gold coin. Hayato's mind races, calculating the odds. He absolutely cannot get this wrong. A helpful little diagram explains that if she is lying, the score could flip to an insane 11-0. He also remembers his shield card is still in play, seeing a narrow path to victory. But the weight of Ami's life crashes down on him. This is not just about probability. Throwing the math out the window, he looks her dead in the eye and says he trusts her. A morgue locker immediately begins to glow with a brilliant white light, and Ami can only watch, her hands clasped in pure terror. A giant number 1 flashes on the screen. He called it right. This double-up card activates, turning that 1 point into 2, bringing the score to 5-3. Hayato is back in the game. A tiny angel zaps him with the 2 points he just won, bringing his score to 3 as he silently thanks Ami for her trust. In the gallery, Ami and Shiho are ecstatic, celebrating the huge comeback, and Hayato steels himself, ready to use his remaining supporters' cards to win. This system shows the shield is ready, but the reversal card is still locked, which does not seem to bother Makuzuka and her signature shark-toothed grin one bit. She immediately announces she is using her double-up card, going for the kill, while Hayato counters by activating his team's shield card. It is turn 9 and his shield will protect his points from a corpse card, but a helpful little diagram reminds him that if he scores, his supporter Brandon dies. Suddenly, drawing a corpse card is the absolute worst-case scenario. He pulls a gold coin, realizing he can save Brandon by letting Makuzuka score instead. His whole plan shifts to protecting his last 2 friends, even if it costs him the game, so he looks her dead in the eye and bluffs, claiming he drew a corpse. This 2 players face off with the entire game hanging on this single call. Makuzuka's mind races, his points are shielded, so trusting him is pointless. But if she doubts him and he is telling the truth, she steals everything, though that would also mean her own supporter gets executed in the process. With a terrifyingly confident smile, she makes her call, "I doubt you." She then lectures him on his defective need to save people, having seen right through his bluff. He'd laid the perfect trap to save his friend and score, but Makuzuka just mocks his sickly sweet will to save people, calling it a fatal flaw. Even her own teammate calls prioritizing enemy lives completely insane, and as turn 9 ends, the reversal card unlocks for use. This catch is just fantastic. If you use it to win, your supporter dies. His friends in the gallery are absolutely panicking over this new rule, realizing Shiho gets left behind if the card is not played. But using it means she is executed on the spot, another impossible choice. Makuzuka just soaks it all in, loving every second of his torment, then lectures him that his friends are just useless baggage. That is the last straw for Shiho, who screams at him to use the reversal card, pointing right at Makuzuka and demanding he kill that demon. Hayato is horrified, flat-out refusing to sacrifice another teammate, which Makuzuka finds predictably hilarious, calling his choice impossible. Shiho pleads with him, saying it is the only way to put them on equal ground, but he just turns to her with a look of pure apology. He cannot do it, he absolutely refuses to kill her for a victory, and she just smiles, saying she knew he would not because that is just who he is. So she turns to the other supporter, making him promise to avenge Sora instead, leaving Hayato to watch, completely gutted by her selfless resolve. Shiho begs him not to waste her life, reminding him of his promise. And the system confirms it, the reversal card is officially in play. As turn 10 begins with Makuzuka calling him a fool for his values, she then draws her card, declaring a gold coin with that terrifying smile. Leaving Hayato to stare down the odds, 4 corpses are still in the deck. His eyes narrow, processing every possible angle of this final, fatal choice. And he slams his hands on the table, the pressure absolutely immense. Shiho's sacrifice flashes in his mind, everything depends on winning now. While Makuzuka taunts him, asking if he will let his friends' deaths be for nothing. But Hayato just glares back, gritting his teeth, it is not over yet. He looks to Shiho's lingering spirit, desperately searching for a way out, and she just offers him a calm, resolute smile in return, making Hayato realize there is no perfect move left to make. But her unwavering resolve gives him the strength he needs. His fist clenches, his own decision finally made, he will honor her sacrifice. So he looks Makuzuka dead in the eye and makes his call, I doubt you. In a flash of blue light, Shiho's spirit thanks him as she fades away, and Makuzuka is completely stunned, her brain short-circuiting. She starts lecturing him about how teammates are only useful when you deny them, just as a spectral Shiho appears behind her with a scythe ready to collect. Makuzuka is absolutely floored, her smug act finally cracking. As Shiho's ghost swings a massive spectral scythe, which slices right through the villain's stunned form, she gets completely obliterated in a shower of pink, the game finally over. Her face now just a void, that shark-toothed grin wiped off for good. Back in the morgue, her body dissolves as her last supporter holds her remains, and the entire virtual space starts to glitch and break down around them. Suddenly, they are back in a classroom where Brandon tells Hayato they are even. Ami is just overcome with relief, thanking him for everything, and even the other 2 students, finally safe, approach our boy. They thank him for saving them, admitting they were too cowardly to act. For a second, it seems like a quiet, somber end for the survivors, but a mysterious woman with a blindfold appears behind them. Oh no, here we go again. She just stands there silently, radiating an aura of absolute menace. On the floor, Makuzuka's body is still fading out of existence, and Brandon points out the irony, the one who preached about trust had no life to risk. Ami realizes she was like that from the very beginning, a total fake, while Brandon confirms she was a monster from start to finish. Hayato can only stare, trying to process the absolute nightmare he just survived. Then wakes up screaming at his school, was it all just a dream? This nightmare fades into a memory of grieving families over coffins. Back in the present, Hayato and his friends are walking when someone calls his name. A woman comes running up and Ami immediately assumes she is Brandon's girlfriend. Nope, that is his mom, and Brandon is just thrilled to see her, leaving Hayato and Ami completely short-circuiting at the reveal. Just then, a little kid runs toward Ami, calling for his big sister, and she scoops him up in a huge hug, so relieved he is okay. Hayato watches the sweet reunion as she sends her brother off to play. Suddenly, a little girl comes sprinting towards him, yelling, "Big brother." He gets his own tearful reunion, hugging his little sister tight, but she immediately asks the one question he cannot answer, where's mom? Turns out their mom was arrested for fraud along with some other dude. This weight of it all crashes down on Hayato, he is the adult now. His stress literally manifests as a weird beaded snake coming out of his head, but he pulls it together, patting his sister's head and asking about dinner. He promises to make curry with meat this time, leading her away by the hand. Half a year later, Hayato and Ami stand before 4 memorial stones. He lays flowers down for the friends they lost in that nightmare game, paying their respects at a monument built for all the victims. And just then, Brandon arrives with drinks, joining them in their quiet remembrance. Brandon immediately tries to rope Hayato into some sketchy business deal, but Ami jumps in, telling him to back off and let Hayato live his life. He is deeply offended, she'd call it suspicious. It is BUSINESS, thank you very much. This 2 of them get into a silent, intense stare-down, a true battle of wills, which immediately breaks into laughter from all 3 of them. To celebrate, Brandon offers to treat them to a pricey steakhouse, and Hayato immediately worries about the cost, but Brandon insists it is his treat, flashing a confident thumbs up because you gotta take care of friends, right? As they head off, Hayato seems to be lost in his own world again, but then a small, genuine smile appears, he is finally getting a moment of peace. His friends call for their leader, and he happily runs to catch up.